Hey everybody, it's JJ and we're back again for another ASUS PCDIY hardware live stream. Happy Friday. Hopefully everybody is doing good and wrapping up the week on a positive, productive footing. So we're back again. Hopefully my voice is going to go ahead and carry through. We'll be all right. We'll see how it goes. We've got already quite a number of people here joining us in the stream. So let's go ahead and I'll check, see who we have going and joining us here. So we've got Snef, fantastic, of course, one of the actual best builders and plotters in the game. Fantastic to have you here. We've got Michael joining us here on the stream. David's also joining us here on the stream. Let's see, James. Hello, James. Connor, fantastic to have you here. Of course, HO Computers. We got us there. Oh, fantastic. Erica, always happy to have you here on the stream. Thanks for also letting us know audio is sounding good. JC letting us know. Floss in the hoodie. Yeah, if you guys have it, go ahead and pick one of these guys up. Still a little bit of colder weather where you may or may not be, whether you are in the United States. Fantastic. This is actually one of our apparel line. We've been actually ramping out the apparel really over the last 6 to 12 months. So there's actually quite a lot of different stuff in there. So everything from windbreakers to t-shirts to sweatshirts to kind of everything in between. We had some really great promos towards the end of the year. So if you didn't pick those up, you kind of lost out. And if you're not, make sure you're subscribed to the ASUS store online as well as our ASUS newsletter. You get little promotions and kind of let you know what's going on in that regard. So overall, looking good. Hey, Depo, it's happy to have you here. Fantastic to join us on the stream. So let's get ready to go ahead and jump into it, guys. We got a lot of different things to go ahead and cover this week with a range of kind of mix in terms of kind of some new hardware announcements, some updates on some hardware that we already had announced earlier at the CS timeframe, and of course, a little bit of mix of everything else. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to be able to jump into the ASUS PCDIY Builder Spotlight, because we have absolutely some awesome builds that you guys have gone ahead and submitted within the stream. So let's get ready to go ahead and take a look at it. Hey, Michael, thanks so much for letting me know about that background audio. Go ahead and bring that down. So we should be okay on that side. So very, very cool. All right. No worries, Depotes. Yeah, we got that taken care of there. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look right here. And I think for the first things, we're just going to go ahead and quickly get these get this out of the way. So just make sure if you guys are interested that you want to go ahead and jump in on them, make sure to go ahead and get in on them. So we do currently have a giveaway that we have going on right now. We did this in collaboration with Intel. Right now, they still actually have this active. It's for the Intel Creator Challenge. So we'll go ahead and bring up the website for that, guys. I will go ahead and drop it in the chat there for you as well. So if anybody wants to go ahead and get in on this, they can. I'll go ahead and bring this up right here and show you guys what we got going on. So pretty much all you guys need to do is just head over to the website. I'll go ahead and I'll link it in the chat right there, and you essentially have the opportunity to win a custom modded PC. So there's 3 fantastic builds that we have right here. So we've got, of course, Stuart and Timmy right over here from, of course, a team collaboration, Liquid Haas, and then we got Blue Horse Studios and PC Junkie Mods. So essentially 3 different awesome, fantastic systems that were put together here in collaboration with Intel for the Extra Life charity. And pretty much all you need to do is just go register for Extra Life, enter in the sweepstakes, and if you guys want to be able to increase the opportunity in terms of being able to win one of the systems, you do have the ability to go ahead and donate to be able to essentially have some additional entries. It's for a fantastic cause. $10 is about what you might spend on, just on a quick meal for yourself or a little bit of an outing. So maybe consider donating it to a fantastic cause. And then on top of that, man, take a look at just these systems. They're absolutely amazing systems right here. I don't know if we have I think I have got some actually close-up images. Give me 1 second right here. I'll show you a couple of just quick close-ups of the systems right here. So I do think I have some images because I was lucky enough to actually be there at the event to be able to talk about some of the cool stuff that we were doing for the launch of the 1300KS. So you can see right here, we've got one of the systems. Really love the way that this looked right here. Of course, where you got this nice, really cool kind of a tiered drop-down effect that looks fantastic. Of course, the chrome with the black and the silver, and of course on the Maximus Hero board, really cool, distinctive, of course, distro integration right there. And then of course, all inside of that massive chassis, tons of real estate that you have there. But it's also really nice and well balanced. So that's one of the systems right there. Then we've got another system right here. This is utilizing our Apex board, which is pretty special because, of course, it's a limited edition board. You can't even buy it right now. We will have a restock of the Apex in March. And so you can see also oriented in a really interesting, distinctive kind of design aesthetic with these absolutely massive radiators that are on there right there. Of course, a custom water-cooled setup like this with a high-end CPU really does make sense for something like the Apex. And then of course, we've got another system right here. And this one's actually really interesting. I don't have the front image right here, but it's an entire front distro implemented in there that also gives it a really kind of bold and interesting design aesthetic in there. I think this one is also based off of the Maximus Z790 Hero. So 3 awesome systems. Like I said, go ahead and get in on it. Let me go ahead and drop the link in the chat and we will get moving things along. All right. Give me 1 second to go ahead and drop that in there. Let me just quickly see. Yeah, so DePotes also, he was actually right there. He says the 3 systems are fantastic. I got to see them up close. Yeah, I think really the attention to detail, you have some of the absolute best builders and modders in the game that were able to go ahead and put together their experience, their expertise, and their creativity on their systems. So I think really awesome opportunity to be able to go ahead and take a look. Having the opportunity to be able to pick up one of these systems right here, right? Oh, wow. -20 sniff. Make sure to keep warm, man. And hopefully, not let the pup out too long. But I know that you've got a breed like me where they absolutely love the cold. They love the snow. They want to be able to jump out there and enjoy themselves. So hopefully, man, take care. Why not use a better... Mark, I'm not sure what you might be asking about. I'm assuming you might be asking about maybe in relation to monitors. Feel free to go ahead and expand on maybe what your commentary might be. If you're somebody ones that's kind of maybe asking about kind of your preference between, let's say, like an anti-reflective coating versus a glossy coating, I think it's actually been shown a lot of people that really get their hands-on experience. We can already see with professional monitors that we already have, like our PR series and OLED, as well as also the pre-existing PG 42UQ and 48UQ actually have really positive experience with the actually anti-reflective coating. The reality is also within a darker environment, the differential that you get in kind of the quote unquote color pop that some people prefer on glossy is really mitigated. And so what you're left with is that glossy really is not going to be friendly, of course, for any type of overhead lighting. If you have angular, specular kind of sunlight coming in through a window or different things along those lines, it can be so apparent that, of course, you can even see your own reflection in there. And so we think for a monitor to be able to accommodate the widest range of users, an AR type of coating makes sense. And I'll also note that we had literally thousands of visitors come check out the actual ROG Swift PG27 at CES, and literally not one person said they felt that the quality of the display was reduced in any way, shape, or form because it had an AR-based coating, which I think is a testament to show you that the contrast, right, the pixel response, right, the color gamut performance, all those inherent parameters which really are positive on an OLED screen were readily apparent and enjoyable, right? But hopefully that covers your question. As always, if anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them down there in the chat, and I'll go ahead and do my best to go ahead and get to them when I can. All right. Next up, we've got just a little bit of kind of something that's a little bit different. So I do want to go ahead and touch on this. Some of you guys may be aware of something that we call the ROG worldview. And so if you've ever heard about it, the ROG worldview is essentially our kind of internal name for what is the kind of like the ROG universe. And inside of that ROG universe, we have something that we call the ROG saga. And the ROG saga comprises essentially kind of like a background and story for all the kind of visual identity that we have within our series of characters. And so over really about the last 2 years, we've done everything from actually have a really cool actually ROG theme song that we developed. It was actually during the height of the pandemic, a really cool kind of collaborative experience, really cool song. And then from there, we've kind of actually filled out the story for different characters like Horseman, Seven, Akira, and many of the other characters that we have. And so our latest actually background story, I wanted to go ahead and show to you guys. This is actually for one of the latest characters that actually joined the ROG worldview and saga, and that's going to actually be PKD. So you can actually check these out. They're all available on the ROG YouTube channel. You can go ahead and check them out. They're all pretty short. They're usually like somewhere like, like a couple of minutes, but they are cool, kind of just little things that if you're interested in sometimes kind of maybe finding out a little bit more about kind of the ROG ethos. And I think it's one of the cool things that differentiates us from kind of like a branding perspective that, not only I think we've really designed and developed something that looks really cool and distinctive, but we've even kind of wanted to continue to grow I'd say kind of, the behind the story and actually add different elements to it that we think hopefully allow you to have a kind of a little bit of a closer kind of connection and kind of interest within the design and kind of the identity that you see within the product designs that we have throughout the actual ROG product line. So this is pretty cool. Definitely, there's not I think any other company that's spending the time and effort to kind of develop these things. And personally, I think that the characters are all really cool. They're all really distinctive. They got really interesting attributes, and the whole story in terms of the background, kind of dystopian future. It's really interesting too if you actually spend a little bit of time to read about it. And so it is available to you. You guys can go ahead and check it out. But again, we have background stories. Not all of them are complete yet. We still actually have a few that we still have left to be able to cover in the ROG worldview. But if you're interested in checking out, go ahead and do so. So I will go ahead and drop the link there in the chat. And this is going to be for PKD. And why don't you guys let me know which one is your favorite ROG character? Or do you even know all the different ROG characters that we have? Let me know. All right. So let me go ahead and also share with you the website for ROG Saga. So if you guys ever want to check it out, this is actually rog.asus.com, and then it's /rog-saga. But you can actually see like all the different breakdown information. There's like a little background on the story, how that actually kind of comprises. Like there's actually a timeline that goes through like what has happened over time. And here's all the different characters where you can see like Horseman, Seven, Akira. Right, they're all listed there. I know a lot of people like Omni. I think my personal favorite, I like Akira and Seven, but Horseman has a personal attachment, maybe because he was the very first character that came out within terms of the ROG worldview, but they're all pretty cool. But let me go ahead and drop that in the chat for you guys. All right. Nelson is asking, will you make the Hyperion in white? We actually have right now no plans to make the Hyperion in white, but we are going to be collecting feedback in terms of kind of development. I know that we've already done, of course, a number of our different chassis. The Helios was available in a silver or white variant, and we, of course, have the GT502 and the GT501 also available in a white kind of colorway version. But as of right now, for the Hyperion, we have no plans to make a white version. But again, doesn't mean that we will not, just there's no initial plans about that. And I will actually have a little bit of an update a little bit later on when it comes to the Hyperion. So if you're interested in that, make sure to just go ahead and keep it tuned. Let's see if we've got any other quick questions that might have come up in there. Michael notes, Omni is awesome. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's a very, very cool character. Very distinct, very interesting. Pretty cool. All right. Let me go ahead and see. Any other quick questions that might have came up there really quick? All right. Hey, Nelson. Happy to have us. Thanks for joining us here on the stream, man. So let's go ahead and keep moving things along. All right. So next up, let's see here. All right, we got just a little bit of quick partner news for you guys. And so we recently, of course, announced the release finally for the 7900 XTX and XT series graphics cards for our non-reference based design. So those would be for, of course, our tough gaming based graphics cards. In case anybody's wondering about, again, we do not currently have any plans for an ROG STRIX version for a 7900 series based graphics card. So right now it's pretty much just the tough gaming based versions of the card for the 7900 XTX and the 7900 XT. And I'll be recapping those cards and the pricing in a little bit, but just kind of a line right here in terms of the quick partner news update right here. Our friends over at EK, they have gone ahead and essentially communicated that they have their essentially blocks pretty much ready right here, so that if you are interested in jumping onto the Radiant side of the fence, they're going to have you covered. Now, of course, we are pretty much a top tier partner across the industry when it comes to water block support. So generally ROG STRIX cards for pretty much all of the premium water block manufacturers out there. So from EK to Fantex to Bits Power to Alpha Cool, Optimus, Thermaltake, they're all working with us to be able to have block support. So it's something you can pretty much readily expect. For this generation, it's a little bit different than in the past. Usually ROG STRIX cards were the ones that were the primary to always get block support. Tough gaming cards would sometimes see adoption, but because of the way that we designed the PCB for this generation, for instance, like the 40 series, pretty much the blocks are interoperable. So if there's a block that's available, it's compatible for both the tough gaming and for the ROG STRIX card. For here, you can see, right, this is going to be a block that will be available again for the 7900 XT and the 7900 XTX tough gaming series. Looks fantastic. Really, really cool design aesthetic. Of course, fully compatible with ASUS Aura Sync. You can go ahead and plug that into a corresponding header. Has support for, of course, EK's new Matrix 7 standard, which just streamlines the overall water cooling experience and simplifies interoperability and compatibility. And you can see there's a pre-order link and price point right there for you guys. So if that's something you're interested in doing, interested in checking out, then feel free to go ahead and, again, check out the link. So we'll go ahead and drop that one in there right there. All right, let me go ahead and drop that one in there. I like this. JC's letting me know. I'll show you a white Hyperion. Yeah, well, JC, I wouldn't doubt that from you, especially after the work that you did with the last chassis, where you got that one powder coated. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if you went ahead and did something that would be pretty cool in that regard. Paskowitz is asking, is the Harpy Ace next week on the ASUS store? So yes, hopefully. We have gone ahead and already listed it. I do have that actually planned today to discuss as far as kind of the timeline, the pricing, and just a recap on the Harpy Ace, because it is pretty much going to be available shortly. So we will be touching on that in a little bit. Okay. All right. Very, very cool. Hey, Vitor, happy to have you here, man. Thanks so much. And also MUFC14, happy to have you here, man. And good evening to you. All right, let's go ahead and keep moving things along here. All right, so moving beyond some partner news, just as a quick update for you guys, no UEFI BIOS announcements for this week. So if you guys are part of our PCDIY group, make sure to go ahead and join it. If you guys are not, it's linked in the description. If you guys are checking us out on YouTube or if you're checking us on Facebook, you should see a link to the PCDIY group. But there's no updates because our friends over in Taiwan are celebrating CNY, or Chinese Essentially New Year. So you'll see a UEFI updates coming back next week. So that's that. All right, very, very cool. All right, a couple of just quick promotions and updates that are available for you guys to be interested in before we start getting into some of the actual product announcements. And again, if anybody has any questions on anything that I may or may not cover, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat. So the first one is going to be AMD right now actually has some cool promotions that they're doing in relation to the 7000 series of CPU. So if you're interested in picking up something like a 7600X or a 7700X, then the cool thing right now is that you do have the opportunity to go ahead and actually pick up Star Wars. It's going to be right here, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So it's essentially a little bundle combination right there. So if you pick up the CPU, you can go ahead and get the game, all right? And of course, this would pair perfectly with any one of our ASUS essentially AM4 based motherboards, right? So if you want to go B650, B650E, X670, X670E, ASUS has a full comprehensive lineup of motherboards. And we of course have a full live stream and individual kind of overviews for pretty much, I think, all of our key motherboards in the lineup. So if you're wondering, hey, do I go with a tough gaming motherboard versus an ROG STRIX versus, a crosshair motherboard? Do I want to go with something like the Gene, right? A micro ATX board that has a special 2DIMM topology to really be able to kind of tweak and tune, take advantage of things like the RG Voltition and that enhanced topology for DRAM overclocking? Or, do I just want something that's going to be stable, reliable, give me great performance, give me, enhanced PBO options, right? And go with something like the Tough Gaming. We cover all the ins and outs, give you all kind of the insights to understand the difference in terms of different IO specifications, how they kind of compare and contrast to different boards in the stack. You can find out all about that either joining our ASUS PCDIY group and checking out our featured announcements that we have per the boards, or you can check out our YouTube channel where I've got overviews on pretty much all those boards. And there's one really big comprehensive overview where I cover all the motherboards in the lineup, and we kind of go sequentially, kind of from like a good, better, best strategy. So it kind of helps you to kind of get a complete understanding. You can kind of maybe just watch it there in the background, kind of listen to it, pause and stop where you want. And check it out if you're interested in doing that. So I will go ahead and drop the link in the chat if you guys are interested in that. All right, there we go. And just one thing I do want to know quickly that some people are a little bit unaware of when it comes to kind of the AM5 platform is that there's a lot of discussion that people always communicate when it comes in regard to kind of like picking the memory and sweet spot. And so I think from our perspective, we don't like to term the phrase sweet spot as being accurate for the kind of the memory specification when you're choosing it. And part of the reason why is if we quickly take a look at the specifications for, say, something like a Ryzen 7700X, you're actually going to see right here that the actual memory support is officially limited to 5200. And actually, depending on the rank and the density, and ultimately your population, what's called SPC or your slots per channel, you'll actually see that this value goes down. So you can see it starts off at 5200 and can actually all the way go down to 3600. It's incorrect to think that 5200 is actually going to be fully compatible with higher densities and 4DIMM populations. It actually goes down. And part of that is because the memory controller on the CPU, the more that you actually place onto the memory controller becomes more stressful. Kind of think about it just from a really easy perspective that if you had two 10-pound weights versus two 20-pound weights versus two 40-pound weights, right? What is going to be easier for you to lift to curl, right? 10 is going to be less than 20, and 20 is definitely going to be much less than 40. So as you scale density, right, and as you increase that, it becomes harder for the memory controller to be able to support operating those speeds. So 6000 MT is actually an overclocked parameter. You can only succeed you can only enable it by overclocking it. And then the success rate is not guaranteed. The reality is that the memory controller has variability, which essentially means that as you're attempting to scale from one value to another value to another value, there is a percentage of CPUs that may not be successful at reaching that value. This is actually communicated in some of the small technical information. If you go to the DRAM manufacturer's website, they will tell you that this is dependent on what's called the CPU quality or the CPU margin. It doesn't matter what you see on the QVL as far as from the motherboard manufacturer, from the memory, or from the profile that you purchase. The variable is going to be the memory controller. You do also have to consider warranty considerations as well, is that technically modification of anything from undervolting to enabling the PBO to enabling Expo does actually affect potentially your warranty policy. So those are just a couple little things to keep in mind in relation to that. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move over beyond that. Let me just see the question right there. So 2x32 configs on AMD DDR4 should be stable if on the QVL and recommended OC speed. No, that's actually just what I explained, right? So regardless that we have it on our QVL, that essentially is just more kind of, I don't want to say a proof of concept because we actually had to validate it within the lab. But the reality is that it's an OC speed. And so our CPU sample set that we might have, there could be CPUs that we have. The easiest way to think about it is kind of like if you had 10 CPUs, you could have potentially 7 CPUs that are able to run that memory divider. So an example might, let's say, like 6,000, 64 gigabyte kit, right? There might be maybe 7 CPUs that work, and then 3 CPUs would fail. And it's not because the motherboard's at fault. It's not because the memory's at fault. It's just because the CPU margin is a little bit weaker. And so you would then have to attempt to maybe either manually tune it further. Maybe you would have to maybe further increase voltage. Maybe you'd have to maybe adjust maybe timings. Or the reality is you might actually have to drop what's called the memory divider. And we actually walk through this and demonstrate it in our OC walkthrough for the launch live stream to actually show you how you can go through what's called testing your memory scaling. So you can actually see what the DRAM divider steps are. If you guys are really interested in this, again, I could kind of re-show it if I have time. Maybe I can do it right here on my Intel demo system. It's the same exact thing for Intel and AMD. There's no difference, right? This logic, essentially, when you go to more slots per channel and you increase density, will always lower. So it's important to understand how to actually do what's called a stepped memory test and test your what's called your memory divider, right? That being noted, right, there is kind of an effective range that you can generally feel confident in. So when you're talking about like 5600 is pretty confident. So I would say it's probably at or around a 90% success rate. 6000 MT is pretty high, but there is, like I said already, a percentage of CPUs that couldn't necessarily guarantee that. Even though all of our motherboards have been validated to be able to run at that speed, you can't necessarily guarantee your CPU can run at that speed. This is part of the reality of overclocking, so it's just something to keep in mind. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and just move over to the next step right here, guys, and we'll keep moving things along. So we got our EK water block. We got some promotions right there. Okay, yeah, we've got another promotion too. If you guys are interested in potentially picking up a NVIDIA graphics card, so there is quite a number of different graphics cards that are going to be covered underneath this this promotion. So this would include the 3060, 3060, 3060 Ti, 3070, and 3070 Ti, all of which we do currently have available in the channel. So for like the 3060, we have dual series cards. 3060 Ti, we also have dual series cards. Some tough gaming cards. 3070, we have a pretty good amount of actually tough gaming. There might still be maybe some ROG STRIX cards. So again, just depending on the e-tailer in question that you're taking a look at, again, you've got the opportunity to be able to pick up Midnight Sun's pretty cool Fire Axis. I'm a big fan of Fire Axis Gains 2K. So if you're interested in picking that up, again, this should usually be like what's called a bundled promotion. So if you go and check that out, let me see if I can go ahead and maybe find one quickly on, let's say if I head over to Newegg. Usually is going to be like a bundled pairing, and I'll let you know that information. So if you're interested in picking that up, then you will see it as a little kind of promotion that says, hey, there's a game available for that. So the one important thing to keep in mind is that those type of promotions, right, they are generally going to be specific to to first-party e-tailers. So that means that you want to be cautious. You don't want to have to buy this potentially from like a third-party e-tailer, because sometimes there's smaller outlets or individuals that will buy cards and then attempt to resell them through what's called a marketplace. And so they are not going to be an authorized partner for these type of promotions. So if you're going to buy from like Newegg or buy Amazon, where you have what are called marketplaces, you do want to be mindful of trying to always make sure that it's a ship and sold from either Newegg or ship and sold by Amazon. Okay, so right here, just as an example, this is one of actually our new cards right here. This is the new design. This is going to be actually our 3060 Ti, and this is going to be the new GDDR6X. So this one actually gives you even a little bit more performance. It's a really actually cool little ID design. I really like the way that we did it. It's kind of clean, refined, has this little bit of kind of like, I'd say it's not fully black. It's a little bit kind of like a slate kind of gray, a little bit kind of a carbon gray coloring, and then some little white accents. It does have a nice backplate to it. Really kind of fits well in a large range of builds in terms of the overall look and feel. But you'll see right there, get Marvel Midnight Suns with the graphics card, and you're going to be good to go. This card's already been really popular, already on back order, I think, in relation to its pricing. But you'll see right there at the top, it says ship and sold by Newegg. So you would want to make sure to do that, because there could be all these other e-tailers that might list the card, but they may not qualify. So ideally, always try to make sure that you are going to be getting their card from a first-party e-tailer. Okay. All right. I will go ahead and drop that one there in the chat as well. Actually, no need to worry about. I won't drop that one in there, because again, if you're just checking it out, your e-tailer in question, they should already have that promotion bundle already in there. Okay. And then we've got one other one that I want to go ahead and touch on, and we will keep moving things along, but quickly just go ahead and see if we have any other quick questions that might have popped up in there before I get to my next part. So there's still no Loki availability in the US? Not yet. I will touch on that, but right now, I think I did give an update on this. I don't think, if it wasn't last week's stream, it was definitely in the one before that. But in terms of the overall availability timeline, we're going to be looking around probably the very end of February timeframe, early March. So there was, again, a little bit of a pump out in terms of the Loki availability, but we do expect to have it before the end of Q1. So we appreciate your patience. I know a lot of people are really excited about that. So make sure to keep it tuned. Yeah, if you're interested in definitely a nice a nice power supply to be able to power your system that's an FXL based power supply, the Loki's definitely going to get the job done, and it will be here in the not too distant future. It will be part of our lineup of ATX 3.0 certified power supplies, like the Tough Gaming Gold and the ROG STRIX Aura, which is also going to be a ATX 3.0 PSU. All right, let me go ahead and just bring this one up here. So this should be, if I do like an RX 6650, that should come up in there. Let's see if I get that one in there. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is going to be one other promotion that we have right here as well, and this one's actually going to be from AMD. So same rules apply here. Just make sure you go ahead and do a ship and sold from Amazon, but you can see right here that instead of just one game, you have the opportunity to actually pick up 2 games. So this would actually be right here, where if you picked up something like a 6650 XT, fantastic graphics card, especially if you're talking about high refresh rate gaming at 1080p, or you want to jump into 1440p based gaming. A lot of really cool updates that AMD's gone ahead and baked in terms of actually improvements in terms of older DirectX based titles. You've got the new noise canceling technology that they're doing on the GPU as well, that you have present in there, improvements to their encoder as well. So there's a lot of other kind of supplemental things that have been improved on AMD's side in terms of the graphics architecture, along with their driver set. And so again, really nice price point, like I said, especially if you're, like I said, you don't want to go super expensive, but you want to be able to jump into a more modern graphics card, and you want to be able to pick up 2 games. So you can see right here, like Data Island 2, Callisto Protocol. The corresponding details are broken down in there. You'll see that actually it depends on the graphics card. So you can see 6650 XT, you would be able to pick up both Dead Island 2 and the Callisto Protocol. So 2 cool games you'd be able to pick up. All right, guys. So that is another promotion right there. All right. Okay, very cool. Let's go ahead and I think that covers all our promotions. So from here, we're going to get ready to start jumping into the new products, guys, and as well as we'll be kind of touching on product release updates and timelines. So if you're kind of interested in terms of just finding out about the latest and greatest, this is going to be where we're going to be covering that stuff here in the stream. So let me go ahead and just quickly see. Paskowitz is saying is that Loki's going to sell like crazy. I hope so. It was a little bit of, I think, a risk to be able to develop a small form factor based solution. But we're excited about being able to kind of add that to our actual product portfolio. So Connor Johnson has a quick question right here before I get into my next segment is that as DDR5 becomes more mainstream in the DIY space, do you think we're going to get more 4DIMM, XMP, or Expo kits at higher frequencies? I think for sure. We have already had some discussion with memory partners, and we do actually expect to see some memory partners release 4DIMM configurations that are native kits. But the reality is that there's no inherent advantage to releasing a 4DIMM kit, right? 4DIMM kits, because just like in DDR4, just like in DDR3, when you increase slots per channel, right, you add rank or you increase density, your scaling is always going to go down. This is not new for DDR5. The big thing that's different in DDR5 is that DDR5 has significantly better scaling than any other memory in its past. You've never, in pretty much almost one generation, be able to see that you've been able to double the effective bandwidth that's been available, right? Like literally when Alder Lake launched, the baseline was 4,800. And within that same generation, we broke double that throughput, right? In terms of the bandwidth. That's never happened in DDR history ever. So it became even more challenging because the wall that sometimes users would have never run into or took kind of quite a bit longer for the industry to catch up to in terms of kind of releasing kits along with the architecture has now become much more present. And so you were able to start picking up 6,000, 62, 64, 6,600 kits, when in the past to be able to start seeing scaling in that range, it might have taken 2 or 3 generations. So the architecture and the memory controller, especially on Intel's parts, was so impressive that kind of I think there was a little bit of kind of unreadiness in that regard. At the same time, DDR5 also inherently has higher densities. Part of the reason why you even needed 4DIMMs in the past was to be able to get to like 32 or 64 gigs, right? The reality is that DDR5 can give you 64 gigs in 2 DIMMs. And in the not too distant future, you'll be able to have actually 128 gigabytes in 2 DIMM configurations. Now, that still doesn't mean that the bandwidth won't go down, because as you increase the density, it will go down. So as an example, the best performing DDR5 kits are going to be 32 gigabytes. They're not going to be 64 gigabytes. 64 gigabytes will always be slower. It will not scale to the same level, because it's kind of, just think about it like a car, right? If you had a 5,000 pound car versus a 2,500 pound car, which one's going to go faster? The 2,500 pound car, right? It's just, it just comes down to a balancing act, right? This will continue to improve though. I have the expectation. I mean, right now already, with, let's say, 13th gen architecture, you can generally target about a 6,000 MT 4DIMM configuration. If you have a really good IMC, it can be a little bit better than that. That's, I think it's good, but when you can also consider that Raptor Lake right now can comfortably be running 7,000 to about 7,600 plus pretty easily, that still shows you just how much of a delta, right? You're talking 6,000 to 7,000 being the baseline delta, and then easily being able to go to 72, 70, 74, 76, 7,800, right? And then if you even go into a 2DIMM board, you could be breaking actually fairly easily with a good amount of the memory controllers, 8,000. So that's not going to change. Okay. All right. Go ahead and see if we got one other question that might be in there. Paul's asking us any news on the price point. I actually already covered this in the prior stream, and it's also in our PCDIY group. So again, if you're not part of the group, always the best place to find out. But I did say if you have a question, feel free to ask. So right now, we don't have any pricing. Definitely expect it to be, of course, more expensive than our current like AXE 16,000, because you're talking about Wi-Fi 7. There's even a higher end chipset in there. There's more 10G based connectivity. It's a higher end based platform. So you're going to be looking at least at the same higher price point than you would be at looking at something like our current ROG Rapture series. But we'll have more information for the Wi-Fi 7 series of routers for both the ASUS lineup and the ASUS ROG lineup as we probably get closer to early Q2 timeframe. Okay. All right. So we go ahead and go from there. All right, I think we're okay. So let's go ahead and just keep moving this along, guys. All right, so let's get to some of the actual new items and new kind of products that we have within our lineup, okay? All right, so let's see right here. I think first up right here, we're gonna do the Prime Z790M Plus. This is actually, I think, a pretty nicely priced motherboard in terms of the overall kind of just price to features to kind of segmentation options. So the cool thing about this is actually going to be a DDR5 version of the motherboard. So we already have a DDR4 version and this will be the DDR5 version. So again, if you guys aren't familiar, the easiest way to know the difference between ASUS when we're talking about generally like a DDR4 to a DDR5 is that we add D4 into the designation when there's a DDR4 version. And then as you see right here, if we switch right over, Z790M Plus, there's no D4. So that's going to denote that it's a DDR5 version, especially now with DDR5 pricing coming down. And it really also giving you the best performance for multi-threaded applications, because you want to keep in mind that actually the effective bandwidth that can be provided per core, it's about half that under DDR4 than it is to DDR5. And especially when you begin to measure applications that are taking advantage of so much more cores, you really actually want to be feeding those cores. And that's one of the key benefits of actually DDR5 that actually a lot of people forget to talk about. But with that being noted, again, we have already the DDR4 version. So that one's going to be essentially about $200. And you'll see for $5 more, essentially, you're going to get the DDR5 version. I think it's a great looking board. It's under our Prime series. So you get this kind of cool, clean monochrome base, right? In terms of the PCB, you have some nice white accents. Then you, of course, have those nice silver heat sinks. Great foundation for kind of white themed build. I think this would look fantastic with our AP201, which is our white micro ATX chassis. Or you can do that nice kind of contrast type of build where you can go black and then just go white with the internal components. Both work fantastic. And AP201 will even fit larger graphics cards. It'll fit up to a 360 millimeter AIO. Really, really great choice. And you still get, robust power delivery here, 10+1 power stage, 50 amp power stages, dual heatsink design in there. So again, you can run 13600, 13700, 13900K. You don't have to have any concerns about that. Have full XMP support. You have our AMP memory support, which if you guys didn't watch my OC live stream, AMP is the sleeper way to get huge value out of DDR5. Go find yourself some green sticks of ADI or MDI based memory and literally pay like half the price or a third the price for DDR5 and be able to get yourself some ultra high speed kits. AMP way is the sleeper OC method to be able to really maximize value. It is one of the absolute best features that we've released for overclockers, and it's just being slept on. But part of that is because a lot of these kits that you can buy, they're not RGB. So, if you want the RGB, you'd have to get something like a little bit of like an RGB kit and then add it to that. But even if you bought like an RGB memory kit and you put that on top of the DIMMs, it still would be significantly cheaper than buying a native kit. Now, there's a little bit of realm of overclocking, but I can tell you with the AMP, I have kits that, they're rated for 4800 that I can be running 6600 all day long, like at C30. And if you were to buy that kit, it would literally probably be at least 2 to 2.5 times more expensive. So a really, really cool feature. All right. You get USB 3.Gen 2, 20 gigabits, our new AI cooling technology on there, which is really cool in terms of actually having like a hardware level option that automatically adjusts your fans for a really nice balance in terms of kind of their speed as well as their cooling performance. You, of course, get a lot of actually M.2 connectivity on this board as well. So you can see I actually got 3 M.2 slots, which is quite nice. And you also still have full PCI Gen 5 support on this motherboard as well. So nice degree of flexibility and functionality. See right here in terms of the header support, also updated from some of the prior generations where we used to sometimes only have 2 headers. You actually still get 4 headers, so just like what you get on the big ATX based board. So 3 ARGB headers, and you can multiplex. So if you want to put like a splitter that has like 3 or 4 or 5 actually ARGB devices connected to one header, that's entirely fine. You can do that. There's no issues. Just keep in mind that when you use a splitter or you use something like an ARGB hub, you're going to be mirroring the signal across those devices. You can't individually control the LED on all the devices. But if you want something like what I've got right here with my system, where you just want to essentially mirror the RGB effect across 3, 4, 5 devices from one header, that works perfect, and that'll get it done. Okay. And then just rounding up there on the rear RL, you can see you've got DisplayPort, HDMI, 2 USB ports, another 2 USB ports, including that Type-C, another 2. So that's going to give you 2, 4, 6, 8 ports, plus you've got your internal ports, including a USB-C port on there. So quite a solid base of connectivity right there. So good option, again, if you want to be able to go ahead and build something that's going to be, not super expensive and maybe a little bit more in terms of the compact type design. I will go ahead and drop the link there in the chat. You should see this one becoming available in the not too distant future, probably a couple of weeks. And again, if you're looking for a chassis choice, consider the AP201. It's a fantastic chassis to build in. It's not very expensive. You can see it starts off at $79. A little bit more expensive for the white model right there, but tons of airflow, really easy to build in. I think we might have Sumin in here. He's actually been, I know, built in this chassis. Also, Snef, who's in here, can probably testify to it. Really easy to chassis to work within, nice build quality, and very flexible. So if you're looking for micro ATX or mini ATX, check that guy out. All right. So that is going to be the Prime. All right. And go ahead and drop that one in the chat. Let me see right here. Where's the best place for a consumer in North America to find some good Hynix M or A dies? I tried to roll the dice once. Yeah, it's kind of tricky. There's no way because most memory manufacturers don't openly disclose whether they're using like Micron or Samsung or Hynix. So unless you've got a community that's actually telling you specifically they've read it through a special tool and that they know for a fact, you can actually check that information. If you guys don't know, again, in my DDR5 OC stream, I showed you that in our UEFI, we do give you the ability that you can actually look and find out the actual IC vendor information. We have that under what we call our SPD tool. It's built into the UEFI. But generally, it's going to be frequency related. People kind of guess. They go like, oh, this is a 6400. Its tight timings is probably like SK Hynix. The cool thing is usually about like the green kits, right? And you can find these usually on Marketplace or sometimes I would say more warehouse kind of dealers that work for probably a little bit more of the OEM or kind of the commercial or the workstation market. They will actually usually have kits from like companies like ATEC and other stuff like that that will actually be clearly labeled, and you'll know that they're actually SK Hynix, or they'll actually state M die or they'll state A die. If you want a little bit more, maybe consider tagging me in the PCDIY group. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a small little dedicated video and post on this just for those overclockers or those value-oriented people that really want to buy like a kit and they're not super obsessed with maybe having something like this. But again, memory partners also do a fantastic job at screening the memory and validating it. So there is still merit to buying a pre-binned and kind of overclocked profiled kit. When we talk about things like AMP and talking about some of these other kits, right, there is still that little bit of variability that you kind of have to buy into and understand because it's still overclocking, right? All right. Eric says he's got a Prime Z790-8. That's a fantastic board. One of my favorite boards. I really love that. Thanks for being Team Prime, man. Thank you so much. All right. Let me just go ahead and see right here. Don't know if I got another question that might put it pumped in there. Zero Frame, is that there any issue with the Prime and then a Kraken X73? No, you should be entirely fine, but I would recommend instead of a Kraken, maybe consider the Ryu cooler. So that would be a great choice, and we're actually going to be talking about the Ryu cooler in just a little bit. But moving over here to my next board that I want to jump into, we've got a little bit of an update here in terms of motherboards, and that's going to be with the ROG STRIX Z790-A gaming Wi-Fi. So again, this is going to be, again, an update. And again, if anybody can maybe tell me in the chat what they think the difference is, right? What's the difference between this and maybe the model that we already have? This is the DDR5 version versus the DDR4 version. So historically, we've only offered the DDR4 version, but we've got those people now that are like, hey, I'm building this higher end system. I really kind of just want to make that investment in DDR5. It's gotten cheaper. So do you guys have that awesome ROG STRIX-A board, right, with DDR5? And now we will be able to offer it in DDR5. So you pretty much get all the same great features, functions, really cool design aesthetic. Absolutely love the way the Dash A looks. Tons of M.2 expansion on this board. Probably one of the really big upgrades that you get from going from the tough gaming model to the ROG Strix is going to be ASUS AIOC, which if you guys, again, want to learn more about ASUS AIOC, I have a full dedicated video on the YouTube channel and a guided walkthrough that I've done for ASUS AIOC, but it pretty much is going to be specific to your CPU and to your cooling solution. Unlike competitors' options, even Gigabyte's quote-unquote 6 gigahertz option, this is not a preset. Essentially, we take hundreds of CPU samples, and we have an advanced algorithm that looks at actually not only at the CPU, and other information, but we also actually continually track the CPU cooler's performance in your system. And based off the cooler's performance, the assessment of your CPU, and then our advanced kind of machine learning model, which we've extrapolated and defined based on those hundreds of CPU samples, we then define a per core burst overclock using an adaptive voltage. The really important thing about this is an adaptive voltage is effective and efficient and a much better way than what some people use, which is like a static vid. Static vid just means that pretty much the voltage stays constant and it doesn't go down. This degrades your CPU more quickly, consumes more power, and it produces more heat. With an adaptive voltage, it's dynamic, and essentially only as the CPU frequency is going up is that voltage lightly being added on. And it also even accounts for actually thermals, because we have actually offsets built in that's called thermal velocity boost offsets. And there's some of the really, really cool stuff. Again, if you don't understand any of this, the really cool thing is if you just buy the board, you buy a good cooler, and you buy a K-series CPU, you can pretty much just run your games for an hour, run a stress test for an hour, go and click this button on, and bam, you're going to be able to easily and effectively overclock your system without having any understanding of it, and have it be really effective, really efficient, and reliable. So it's a great feature. It's exclusive as you step into the higher end boards. So it's nice if you want to go from, like I said, a more entry option like we've got with Tough Gaming, which is still a great motherboard. You can manually overclock it, but you got to load it a little bit more. You got to spend that little bit of time to tune it. Where here you can just literally toggle an option inside the UEFI or inside the operating system. I love also here, you've got the Q release button. So that's a great feature right here. This little button, you can just click this button to easily eject the graphics card. That's a great feature that we also have on there. You can also get a lot of rich connectivity right here, right? So you're going to get Wi-Fi 6E, you're going to get 2.5 gig LAN, you're going to get 20 gigabits USB. You also have higher than standard charging support up to 30 watts. Our higher end boards have up to 60 watts, but that does require supplemental PCI power connection. You get our Q latch design, which is for the easy, M.2 SSDs. New for this generation, we didn't used to offer it on boards actually in this price band, but the clear CMOS button. So normally, if you guys didn't know, it used to be clear CMOS button. You'd even have to go into the higher end motherboards to get a clear CMOS, like a Dash E or like a Maximus. So now getting the clear CMOS on the Dash A, I fought really hard for this. So I really would appreciate for you guys to, give us a thumbs up on that and let us know you appreciate that, because it does cost money to put on there. QLED is also, of course, on that board. So that's that just quick diagnostic LEDs that you get on the motherboard. But overall, lots of also expansion here, up to 4 M.2 SSDs. That's a lot of M.2 SSDs you can run natively on this motherboard. And there's also a Thunderbolt header on there too. So if you even want to be able to expand to like a Thunderbolt card, you can do that. So a great option if you want to be able to upgrade to a board. But yeah, you can see just tons of boards, right? Anyway, 2, 4, and then 8. So that's going to be a total right there of 10 USB ports on this motherboard alone. So quite a bit of rich functionality. And that's that AI overclocking technology that I talked to you about on the board. It has our new updated Wi-Fi 6E antenna that is also on here as well. So a lot of great options. Great choice if you're looking for building something on a 13600, 13700, 13900, or even a KS. It's all going to be covered in there. So you're going to be good to go. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and drop that one there in the chat for you guys. I think we will be trying to push a little bit more availability for this one on the ASUS store. But if not, like I said, you can see it popping up in the not too distant future right here. Oh, it's just saying clear CMOS buttons are underrated. Yeah. An easy hack for people, if you want to know a hack, the easy hack is you can just buy like a button like on Amazon or Newegg. They're like, you can get them for like $5 to $6. And then you just wire that straight to the clear CMOS header on the motherboard. That's the way I'll do it for like more entry products. And then I have a little button that I can just click instead of having, take out, something to actually short the jumpers or take a jumper and actually put it over the pins to clear the CMOS. So that's a really easy way if you want to kind of clear the CMOS, but this is a much, much nicer option, right, to be able to easily do it. And again, it really is only most useful to overclockers. There is some debugging value to it, but the biggest benefit is going to be predominantly usually for the overclockers. Okay. All right. And people that are wondering about the Apex, if you kind of are wondering about that, so for the Maximus C790 Apex, which is our other white motherboard that we have within the lineup, although we do also have the Prime series, the Apex right here. This is not the price for the Apex, so let me go ahead and remove that. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm doing a bait and switch right there. Right now, you see it says notify me. Now, normally this would not even be valid because the motherboard is sold out. It was a limited production motherboard, had ultra high demand and interest, and we were super happy to see it sell through pretty much really, really quickly. It was actually, I think, even faster than we thought. We knew a lot of people were going to be excited not only at the Apex and its performance, but also, of course, with that first white PCB that hasn't been done in generations. So it was exceedingly difficult to actually do it, but we're really happy to be able to actually do it. And we will be bringing in actually another essentially launch inventory for this in March. So if you're interested in the Apex, be ready. It will be coming in March, but we expect a large amount of demand. But we are bringing in a pretty good, healthy amount of inventory. So we hope to be able to meet kind of pent-up demand if you are interested in the Apex, but it should be available in March. If you're looking for another alternate in terms of white motherboard, keep in mind there is still active inventory in the channel of the Maximus Z690 formula. And the Maximus Z690 formula is, of course, fully compatible and still offers a fantastic feature set for people that are interested in building a 12th or 13th gen series system. And for a lot of people, it might be even the better choice. It still looks fantastic. It's not white PCB, but it pretty much looks all white. And you're going to get some other really nice kind of options on here. You get like 10G LAN, you get the OLED live dash display. You're going to get more RGB lighting zones. So it's up to you in terms of that's an option that you want to kind of go with. And then we also have the Prime Z790, which that's also one of my absolute favorites, is the Dash A. Let me see if I can bring it up right here. One of my favorite boards, always aesthetically. I absolutely love the Prime series, the Dash A models. So this is the Prime Dash A. It has what we call is our space themed design aesthetic. I absolutely love this design aesthetic. I think it looks so cool. So those are all our options there in terms of white, right? So check those out if you're interested in those. And did I drop the chat? If anybody can tell me if I dropped the chat there, dropped it in the chat for the Z790-A gaming Wi-Fi. Did I drop it in there? Okay, I did drop it in there. Fantastic. All right. Mr. Matt Lee says Z690 formula. It's a great board. Yes, I would agree. Right. I love this right here. You take it from a man that has literally dealt with tons of motherboards, right? Both are masterclass motherboards. I like that. Very, very awesome, right? Yeah. Mr. Matt Lee says, Maximus Z79 Apex is a beast. I used V-Color RG certified 7200 speed, and it's been pretty epic with an i9 Raptor Lake. Yeah, that sounds absolutely awesome. Yeah, and those V-Color are really cool because those are actually a new update. We haven't actually, for a while, we didn't have that many new RG certified kits of memory, and V-Color just recently did some with us, and so those are really, really cool. Let me see if I can bring them up right here. Yeah, they're a very, very cool stick of memory right here. I'll go ahead and link these in the chat because I think that they're super cool if you guys are interested in right here. But they have like this really cool, I'm sure you guys check out Mr. Matt Lee's Instagram, one of the best guys out there. He's also got Facebook and awesome YouTube channel. You guys can see amazing content that he does, and he gets a lot of our latest and greatest products so you can see them. But really, really cool kit of memory. One thing you might be wondering is, so like what makes something like ROG certified? ROG Certified is actually a special program that we have that we work exclusively with certain partners on. And so pretty much they say it's like, hey, we'd love to do something special with you. And stylistically, the product has to meet a certain kind of design criteria to try to kind of be very more complementary to the ROG product. But we also do a more enhanced QVL and actually special profiling options. So when you install an ROG certified DIMM, it actually can auto engage certain parameters that are actually more tightly screened, because unlike, let's say, a standard XMP profile, not a lot of people understand this, but one of the disadvantages is that with XMP, you may actually be tuning the memory for the broadest amount of board compatibility in the industry. The disadvantage of that is that what happens if, let's say, ASUS has spent more time to have an optimized topology or optimized firmware that can have better performance. That means actually the user loses a little bit because essentially you've kind of had to tune towards the worst common denominator, if that kind of makes sense, which is fair because you're trying to account for a broad level of interoperability and compatibility. But with ROG Certified, we can kind of take it a little bit further and kind of optimally have a profile and design which is best for ROG motherboards, right? So that's pretty cool. All right, so thanks for sharing that, Mr. Matt, and I will go ahead and drop these in the chat if maybe somebody wants to pick up some ROG certified DIMMs. There are also ROG certified memory from ADATA. XPG has an ROG certified kit that's DDR5 as well, if you guys are interested. Okay. All right. All right. So let's get ready to move over to the next one. Got one other user too. Formula Z690 is very stable. I love it. I was so happy to be able to use it with my 1309 KS. Yep. Fantastic board. Just keep in mind that if you do decide to go with a 13900KS, because you could be dealing kind of with like old stock or inventory or something along those lines, is that you do want to make sure that you update the UEFI, and also make sure to update the firmware. So the UEFI firmware on the motherboard. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over into our next one. Our next board is going to kind of be, we went with the black. Excuse me, we went with the white, and now we have the white. And so this is going to be the Z790-H. H tends to be what we call a little bit more channel select SKU. So this means that sometimes it's available at every single e-tailer. You can find it sometimes a little bit more common at certain targeted e-tailers or retailers. So like Micro Center tends to usually carry like our H series. You can still see it pop up, and we should have a small inventory that we'll make available as well for our ASUS eStore. This is a great option right here. Again, if you want to save a little bit more and go with the DDR5 option, and you want to be able to get the premium upgrades that you get with an ROG STRIX series motherboard, because again, keep in mind that ROG STRIX always in every way is going to be an upgrade from Tough Gaming. So whether it's going to be in the IO, on the feature set, the VRM, whatever it might be, you're always going to be getting essentially a step up. And I've covered this at length in our overview content. So if you're interested, you can make sure to check out those overviews that we have on the YouTube channel, or of course in our PCDIY group. But again, just some of those notes. Again, this one is going to have the ASUS AIOC technology, the AI cooling technology that I talked about, 20 gigabits base support, Wi-Fi 6E, very robust power delivery. Again, doesn't matter which CPU you want to rock in here. You could put a 1300K in here. VRM is not going to have any issues, 100%. DDR overclocking performance is going to be very good. Again, even between this like in a Hero, they're both going to be effectively about the same. The determining factor really will be more so the quality of the IMC or the memory controller, which is unknown within your CPU. Okay. You also still get that really cool Q release feature. You get also the Q latch design that we talked about. You get the clear CMOS button, the Q LED. You get this nice, cool, clean, stylized aesthetic. Pretty much, it's very similar, just going to be the black version of the motherboard. Okay, so that is going to be the Z790-H. I love it. I think this really cool design that we also have kind of for the side profile, I think is really, really nicely done. So that is going to be the -H. All right. Okay, there we go. So that is going to be the -H. And actually, I have a note right here, I think. Let me see right here. Oh, very, very cool. Yep. So you guys can actually already go ahead and do a back order if you are interested. Right now, it is online at Newegg. So if you guys are interested, you can go ahead and get a little back order of it available for Newegg. All right. All right, guys. So go ahead, and now next up, this is going to be a quick update here on our Tough Gaming graphics cards. Just wanted to let people know that, again, we did go ahead and announce these for release. Actually, sorry, got one other board right here that I wanted to touch on. Slipped right there because it's under our WS line, so I had it slotted in under a different segment right here. Now, this is going to be for the guys that are super serious about high-end workloads. And we're not talking about just regular workloads. We're talking about, seriously, you are going to be maybe in professional science and simulation, professional animation, satellite topography and analysis, computational workflows. I mean, we're talking about really, I'd say, in the professional series in the market for people that have the most demanding needs when it comes to core counts and thread counts. So this is going to be our Pro WS WRX80E. This is this Wi-Fi 2 model. So we already essentially had a prior model. It's been on the market for probably almost like 6 to 8 months, something in that range. Supported the Ryzen Threadripper 3000 series, and then of course the 5000 series when it came out, but we've gone ahead now and updated it with a version 2. So of course this has been optimally designed for the latest generation 5000 series, which now supports up to 128 threads. So absolutely beastly in terms of course your support in that regards, right? This is also going to be, support up to 8 memory channels, and then tons of course, PCI lanes. So let's go ahead and take a look at this board. It's a beautiful, absolutely stunning motherboard in terms of the overall design aesthetic, but it's really about the features and functions that are on this board. You're going to see that you've got 7 full PCI slots, and that's just because you have massive number of PCI lanes that are afforded to you from the Threadripper Pro series based CPU. There's dual 10G LAN. You have 20 gigabits. USB connectivity on there. You have dual U.2. And if you've been sleeping on U.2, guess what? You know how big U.2 can go right now? You can literally get a 32 terabyte U.2 PCI Gen 4 NVMe SSD. You can put 2 of those guys in there and have outstanding level of performance. And like I said in the PCDIY group, hot take on my end, U.2 is better than M.2. It's just a reality. The reality is not power constrained, it's not thermally constrained, and it's not constrained by the Z height to be able to have those higher densities, which is why you can have 16 terabyte, 20 terabyte, 24 terabyte, 32 terabyte base drives and have the impressive performance that you have available to you. It's also why we offer it on something like this where you have really demanding storage needs. So the big update for this generation, so what's different, JJ, between this one and the prior generation? You're going to get support for overclocking, so overclocking the memory as well as overclocking the CPU. Again, keep in mind that does void the warranty, so this is for those most demanding users that are really looking to push the envelope and the performance on CPUs, which they're also pretty expensive CPUs. We're talking about multiple thousands of dollars for these CPUs. But if you are looking for that highest level of performance, that is going to be one of the new additions here is the support for overclocking, DRAM, and for the CPU. You also have an update to Wi-Fi 6E for this model compared to the prior generation, which was Wi-Fi 6. And then you're also on this model going to have, for the M.2, where there's 3 M.2 that are installed on here, we also have the Q-latch design. So that means it's just a little bit easier for you to install the M.2 SSDs, a little bit more streamlined. And just on the I.O. side, you can see that you've got here, look at all the I.O. So you've got 4, you've got 6, you've got 8, and then you've got 10. So 10 ports alone on the rear, then dual 10G LAN. And all of these are a minimum of 10 gigabits. And then you've got a 20 gigabit port also on this, right? So there's not even any USB 2. There's no 5 gigabit. It's literally everything is 10 gigabit at a minimum and then 20 gigabit. So very impressive board. And it is available right now. Expensive, $1,100, but again, for professionals in this space, this is an outstanding option, and it's been proven. It's the #1 selling WRX80 motherboard on the market, and this is now just the newer version of it, again, for those that are really demanding the highest level of multi-threaded performance, as well as PCIe expansion support, okay? Let me go ahead and drop that in the chat right there. So let me just go ahead and see. So I love this from a user. That is one heck of a board. Thank goodness I do not need this, but wow, the tech in it is stunning. Yeah, it's quite challenging, actually. One of the most complicated things about these really high-end kind of like WS motherboards, and it also happens on some of the high-end ROG boards, is that there's so much quick switches in there. The PCB layer design is also very, very demanding. So, on these high-end boards, you're talking about, 8, 10, sometimes even 12 layer PCBs for these motherboards, because you have so much complexity in terms of all the high type of PCIe signaling, the quick switches to go between different types of different types of slots, the different types of controllers that are on the motherboard wired for different I/O. There's a lot of really kind of heavy challenges that we have in this regard when we talk about these boards. But the WS series is actually even older than the ROG series, and it's really a cornerstone of ASUS's motherboard lineup. Let me see. Is the WRX80IO surrounded the same as the ProArt, just without the branding? It's similar. There's a little bit of kind of that motif there where you have that little bit of that translucent design accent. But technically, the WS series does have its own ID design branding that's different from ProArt. And actually, I'd say ProArt leveraged some of the ID design kind of branding from WS. And so you'll see a little bit kind of a synergy between the two, but they are still different. If you'll actually notice on the WS model, you won't see any gold accents here. Although we have had that in the past for WS, where you see kind of more silver, right? And then on ProArt, you definitely always see those gold accents on the ProArt series currently. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next guy right here. So let's see here. I'll go ahead and let the people, let's let the people let me know. Do we want to give a quick update on chassis and AIO before I get into the peripherals, or do we jump straight into the peripherals and then I'll tackle the chassis and the AIO? Let me know. 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see how many comments we've got right there. Let me know. Let's see what we're here. David, I like that. Makes me wish I had 128 threads to run. Looks like chassis and AIO. So from Connor, Daniel, and Michael, AI. All right, so we're going to go with the chassis and AIO update. All right. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so let's see right here. All right, so we're going to give an update here on the AIO. And I guess what? For those that are joining the stream, they get to find out about it first. That's right. You guys get to know about it before anybody else. For the Ryu, right? Ryu's going to be coming, and it's actually going to be coming a little bit even sooner than I thought. I did give a projection that I said it was going to probably be about late January. I still think it's actually going to be probably the overall correct timeline in terms of the actual Ryu cooler. But let's go ahead and throw up pricing for you guys, because I have gone ahead and confirmed the pricing as of today. So this is what you will be seeing for when we actually do release this into the channel. So we will be confirming release in North America for the Ryu 360 and for the Ryu 240. The Ryu 360 will be coming in at $290, and then the Ryu 240, so that 240 millimeter version will be coming in at $240. So pretty easy. If you want the 240 version, it's going to cost you $240. If you want the 360, it's going to move up $50 to $290. And then if you're looking for the white version, because we will offer a white version for both models, so for the 240 or for the 360, there's a $10 delta. So $250 or $300. That's pretty much what it's going to come down to in terms of the price break. If you guys don't know the Ryu, if you check out my 13th Gen Live O stream, I did a little bit of a preview with the actual Ryu. You can actually see it. It's a fantastic cooler. If you guys saw any of the coverage from CES 2023 with the Hyperion, it also had the ROG Ryu cooler inside there. And so some of the cool things that we did here, you guys can also check out Mr. Matt Lee. Again, you can check out his actually YouTube channel, or Matt, if you want to drop that link in there, you can. But it actually... he did a build in it, I think in the GT502 with the Ryu cooler. So this will actually be the first 8th gen Asetek based pump cooler on the market. That's actually a bigger cold plate. It's square, so it's kind of optimally designed for 13th gen, 12th gen series CPUs and for AM5 CPUs. It's actually a thicker tubing in terms of the diameter. There's more internal coolant flow. Essentially, it's gen on gen, a higher performing base cooling solution. You then add to that this housing. It's a premium knurled housing, so it's metal. Feels really, really nice. We integrated also the cable inside of the housing, so it's really nice and clean. There's not like any little like cable around the corner that you kind of have to kind of put a cable in and kind of route it out. Much, much cleaner. The ROG static pressure optimized fans, these actually have a ring barrier, which actually helps to have more focused static pressure. So that's actually something we've had for generations. Some of the best actual ARGB fans on the market. You can't buy them separately, but they do come with our coolers. So they will come already inside the box right here. So again, here's a little bit of a breakdown. That 8th gen Asetek Moser 3-phase aluminum housing with, like I said, that knurling. The vacuum coated lens is another thing compared to other companies out there. One of the really cool things is that vacuum coated lens gives you a brighter, cleaner display, and it's also significantly less prone to any type of scratching. A lot of the other companies, they're using like a basic plastic polymer or mylar on that screen, and if you kind of pass over kind of things on it, even sometimes trying to clean it or wipe it, you can actually scuff it or scratch it. And so we really wanted to try to have it be a little bit more of a premium and higher quality experience. So that is part of the value add, again, of going with the Ryu. So again, right here, enhanced pump, the ARGB static pressure optimized fans from the ROG editions, right? The radiator right there, improvements in there. And this is a full anime matrix display. So it's a pixel editor display. It's just like what I've got on the motherboard here next to me. So it's fully customizable. You can go ahead and put in system monitoring. So you can have things like temperatures and clock speeds. You can have custom animations. It can fully support ASUS or Sync in terms of lighting. And if you want to go to town and custom create your own image, you can do that within the pixel editor. Of course, if you want a full screen, then go with the Ryu Gen 2. That's the biggest screen that's on the market. It's one of the absolute best coolers on the market. That's 7th gen, but still outstanding performance. And that one also has the VRM assist fan, and you can mount it horizontally or you can mount it vertically. Oh, I think is this Mr. Matt's? Yeah, this is Mr. Matt's video. Why don't we look at this beautiful little B-roll footage that he went ahead and threw together. Look at that. Look at that. Doesn't that just look so good? Wait, I gotta go back there. Let's go back there. Look at that. Just looks so nice. And again, it shows you also, of course, you can also have that great aesthetic without having to, also match every single thing up, right? You don't necessarily have to kind of put tough gaming with just tough gaming. You can put ROG STRIX, or you can this could go in any system, right? It doesn't matter. So that is going to be the Ryu. And if I didn't show, let me make sure and show the white. Make sure that you do see the white edition. Go ahead and bring that up. And so here's the white model. The white model looks fantastic. Again, full, really nice sleeving, full white fans. And again, that metal housing is also entirely in white also. So again, we got you covered. Whether you want to go white or you want to go black, you're good to go. And let me go ahead and see if I can drop that one in there. You guys want to check out that cool build video, you guys do that. So let me go ahead and drop that in there. You guys can check it out. If you guys haven't subscribed already, you guys are losing out. You want to make sure to definitely subscribe to Mr. Matt. See right here? Here it is. Perfect. And that also, the cool thing about that, if you guys do check out that video, you will also get his hands-on experience to be able to check out the GT502. So you get kind of two combinations. You can see our latest chassis, and then you can also see the AIO cooler. All right. No pre-orders available. Most likely, it should just be pretty much actively live in stock. Probably first availability will be on the ASUS store. And again, if you're part of the ASUS PCDIY group, you'll see a notice that I'll provide in the group for when hopefully we've put it out there in terms of the channel. Okay. All right. So next up, let me just give a quick update right here in terms of the Hyperion. So the Hyperion, guys, if you guys didn't know, that is of course our next generation high-end chassis. The Hyperion is going to be really for those of you that are kind of focusing at high-end builds. You are really kind of seriously maybe looking for a system that is kind of focused at being kind of, you can definitely go AIO, or you can go kind of custom water cooling. This is actually a little bit of a preview that I did over here with I think All Around PC. You can see myself right there. It's a little bit of Inception, right? Watching myself present to you a Hyperion while I'm doing on the live stream, as opposed to when I did it at CES, right? But it supports dual 420 millimeter radiator configurations. So you can have a 420 rad in the front, or you can have a 420 rad on the top. It's full die-cast aluminum there on that external kind of X frame. So it feels really, really nice and premium. 6 USB ports are going to be on the front, right? You get dual 20 gigabits connectivity in terms of those 2 USB-C ports on there. There's an integrated light panel that's going to be on the inside that you can actually even remove, and you can have it on your desk if you want to have like a cool little ROG vibe and kind of flair and setup to your system. That's a really kind of cool, like, next level, I think, kind of accessory that kind of comes with the system you wouldn't normally think about. And once you remove that, if you want to put storage, or you want to put fans, you want to have something like a distro, that could be an option in there. It's optimally sized for EATX based chassis, so it readily supports motherboards like our Extreme series with no problems. Again, no issues if you want to go horizontal or vertical. There's tons of space that's inside there. If you want to go ahead and mount large graphics cards, you can see we got the 4090 that's in there. No issues with the cable. You're all set. You got those nice gull wing doors which open up, and it also comes included with the GPU brace. You'll see it in there right now where it has the actual Herculex, but it has its own support brace that comes in there. And there's also a cool little tray, which I think I probably show over here somewhere. There's like a little tray over here somewhere. I think this is the little storage tray. You'll see right here where it just goes ahead and opens up, and you can store little things like maybe a wireless adapter or flash drive, your screws, different items like that. That all comes included. So we have not finalized on the price yet for this. We're expecting probably an approximate about $500 price point, but we do hope to have availability for this chassis by about the end of February. So that's a little bit of a quick update on the Hyperion. So if you guys are looking to be able to build a system, make sure to go ahead and check it out. It's going to be a pretty cool one. Okay. All right, guys. So that is going to be the Hyperion, and we will keep moving into the next items right here. Let me just quickly see if we got any questions on there. Somebody says, beautiful. Yeah, I think it's a really cool looking chassis, really distinct. You know, definitely it's got a different vibe than I think a traditional chassis. And I think even at its price point, it's actually a really strong value for everything it's offering, resident to kind of the build quality and thermals and things like that. Actually, let me show one thing. I know somebody was asking me about this in the group. And so some people are like, hey, JJ, did you guys even know what you were doing when you designed the chassis? it doesn't look like there's any airflow. And I think that's a fair point. So I actually want to show you kind of how it works. So this is actually a little bit of a render here, actually show you the way that the airflow works. There's actually quite a bit of design. We actually have a full thermal analysis chamber that we have actually vetted the thermal design within this system. And you actually have spacing that exists between these slats, between the doors, and was really designed to be able to bring in actually a large degree of airflow. And we even benchmarked it against other chassis in the similar price segment and more expensive, and we actually have better thermal performance. We have no concerns. Again, that system that you saw there, I think is going to be very representative of what people would build in, like a 3900K, 360 millimeter degree AIO, and then like a high 4090, and that can run all day long with no issues. And even to the point right here, let me go ahead and see if I have it. I don't know if I have it right here. I'm on a new system that I went ahead and set up today. So I don't know if I have, I don't know if I have my file here to 100% show you. Oh, yep, I can show it to you. Okay, right here. All right. But here's just like a little bit of an example of actually the thermal performance, where you can actually see right here. So this was with a 4090 Z790F, 1600 watt power supply, 13900K, the Ryujin 2360, and you can see right here under a heavy load test. So actually your temperatures would actually probably be lower than this if you're talking about normal gaming, but you can see 65 degrees right there. And there's our competitive chassis. You can see we're actually even running cooler. And visually, this chassis looks like it would give you, quote unquote, even more airflow. And then you can see GPU values will also actually lower right there. So again, no concerns in that regard. Okay, you can feel comfortable and confident in that setup. Okay. Okay. Miguel says, I can't wait until Mr. Matt Lee does a build in this case. Yeah, and I know actually Stuart has actually this chassis, so I'm super interested to see actually what he does with it as well. Yep. When does the Ryujin 360 come for sale in the US non-third party? So that's actually just what I just said, right? So yeah, you should be expecting it next month, probably by the end of next month. Okay. Availability, that's going to be the earliest that we're doing it. It's going to be, like I said, in that time frame. So we've already kind of been trying to fast track that as much as possible. But again, availability probably is not going to be any earlier. Maybe the third week of February, but I don't probably think earlier than that. Okay. All right. So let's keep moving that along. All right, next, let's go ahead and give you a little bit of update on some mice. So as we came in from CES, and it's already pretty much here, the ROG HARPE, the ACE, the AimLab edition. So this is going to be for those that are really looking for kind of an absolute, truly flagship level mouse. We spent a lot of time and effort on this guy. It's really a premium experience. Absolutely, I think in terms of the fit and the finish, it's outstanding when it comes to this mouse. Super ultra lightweight. You're talking about 54 grams on here. We actually utilized an entirely brand new biopolymer. So it's a specialized actually composition in terms of the material to be able to achieve the great balance between kind of the durability and its lightweight form factor without having to have like any type of holes or anything like that, which for some people visually can be off-putting, but also can potentially cause structural integrity issues depending on how it's designed. But we can show that even when you do that, you can still do it really well, like we have with the M4 Air, which actually does have kind of a cutout structure in terms of that. But symmetrical based mouse, it's not full it's not full ambidextrous because it doesn't have buttons on the left and the right hand side, so it's considered what's called a semi-ambidextrous based mouse. 54 grams. ROG AimPoint sensor, so 36,000 DPI, along with a industry-leading 1% CPI deviation. That's important because even if you have a high-quality sensor, there can actually be deviation in terms of the sensor's performance from mouse to mouse to mouse. So we actually pre-check that in the factory. Tri-mode connectivity, which is exceedingly rare in an ultra high-end base mouse. So 2.4 gigahertz Bluetooth and USB-C, unlike some competitors which are still even using micro USB on their mice. And this is our Speed Nova wireless chipset, which our Speed Nova wireless chipset is outstanding in terms of its performance. It's even better than our prior generation wireless chipset. It's pretty much almost about parity of what you would have when it comes to actually performance compared to a wired-based connection. Onboard memory profiles. We also don't require any cloud registration. So unlike a certain company with an R where you have to have a online kind of registered account and other things like that. You can load up the software, Armor Crate, you can go in, you can do actually customizations, store it all directly on the profiles, and then if you don't want to run the software anymore, you could uninstall it. But our software is running what's called a UWP interface, which means when it's not active in the foreground, it actually pretty much doesn't use any resources. It's only actively using memory and CPU cycles when it's actually active and open in the foreground. And there's tons of course customization options in there, right? ROG micro switches, those are our premium 70 million click rated micro switches that are on there. And it also comes included with grip tape. For me, I find grip tape useful just because I tend to have sweatier hands when I'm gaming. So I like to have the grip tape on there just to be able to go ahead and give me a little bit better dexterity, a little bit better hand feel. Now, one of the cool things that you see being talked about right here is that this mouse does come included with AimLabs integration. So there's actually a full little software suite, which actually allows you to go through trainers for things like sensitivity, your liftoff distance, and other items that are about 10-minute sessions. And when you train in those 10-minute sessions, all that information can be mapped with specific recommendations and then stored to the mouse. So it's really, really cool. And also, as you keep evolving through those training sessions, you can actually make further adjustments. So it's a great way to really kind of quantify values for your gaming mice, as opposed to a lot of times what people do is like they look at prosettings.net, they talk about people on Reddit, they take a comment from somebody's YouTube post. And the reality is that's not maybe personal to you. What works for one person doesn't work for another person. Also, it could be entirely different for the mouse. So here you can really balance everything together. You can take your experience that you have specific to the mouse. Then even with our mouse pad, which we have at RG Hone, which is a mouse pad that is optimally kind of designed to work with it. Also, with actually distant measurements built in, and then you bring in that AimLabs integration and you bring that all together to be able to have a really outstanding experience. So $150, and it is definitely an expensive mouse, but I also will really tell you, if you look at the community and you get our feedback, I think ROG sets the bar right now in terms of build quality for mice. There's a lot of other companies, their build quality is quite a bit more variable, and I really think that if you take a look at the history that we've shown with models like our Keras, with our Gladius, right? Gladius 2, Gladius 3, right? We've had really, really, really positive feedback in terms of what people's feedback has been resident to the actual build quality and the feel that we have. So this is going to be the HARPE. So this model, you can already see right here. If you head over to the ASUS store, it's going to be notified me. It should be available shortly. So, and you'll be seeing broader channel availability in the not too distant future. So if you keep it tuned, you'll be able to go ahead and pick this guy up. All right. Let me see. Connor Johnson saying, day one buy for me, very hyped for the new Hyperion. Awesome, man. That sounds really, really cool. Nelson saying, will you sell the display separately? So I'm assuming you're asking about the little cool like insert for the Hyperion. Maybe in theory, because we're producing it out of the factory, you could isolate it, maybe like put it in a package, because that's the cool thing. It can connect via USB, and it's just this cool little display that you can put on your desk. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk to our team about that. I like, what do you guys think is a reasonable price point for it? Like, would you pay like, I don't know, $50 for it? I mean, it's still really nice. It's still made out of metal. It has an integrated RGB light display. It has a little kickstand. So it's pretty cool. I'll see if maybe I can get some images, but I'm sure as we get some of the other people out there, maybe Mr. Matt, if he's still on the stream here, make sure to maybe show that in the video. If you can show that you can actually remove it and kind of have it, that would be pretty cool, right? But we'll see right there. All right. Hardware can't make you a better game. ASUS thinks differently. I don't think that it's about hardware making you better, but I think hardware can help to offer more consistent experience. So definitely the gamer and the time that you spend playing your game is going to be the most important thing. But unquestionably, if you talk about the smoothness and the response and the consistency of the experience, that can affect your gameplay experience. If you have a mouse where you're having inconsistent actuations, right? If you're talking about mouse movements that cause you to have more fatigue, right? That can also affect your gameplay experience. So to say that hardware doesn't influence the experience is also not accurate. Now, does it provide you with the edge? No, I think it's ultimately comes down to the balancing act of that as you become comfortable with your hardware, whatever it might be, and as you put time and investment into the game, that's what's going to ultimately define, how competent and how good you are within the game that you're playing. But if you give an amazing player even better hardware, they play even better, right? Doesn't mean that they have to have the best hardware to play well. No, And that's part of the value add, right? Is that a good player can learn to kind of balance where they kind of have to go, okay, maybe I can't make certain movements, I'm going to make an adjustment with this instead, right? And they balance it out. It's also one of the great things about human beings is we're extremely adaptive, right? So that's, you know, there's a lot of different aspects. And then I think also critically, another thing to evaluate is that people don't just buy one product just purely for performance, right? You might buy it for maybe also, I want the tri-mode connectivity. Maybe I'm looking for better battery life, right? Maybe I'm looking for something that doesn't have rubber grip texture that wears away and becomes uncomfortable for me, right? I rather have something that maybe is laser etched, right? So there's multiple value propositions when you're considering hardware, right? It's never, for most people, it's never a sum all game. You don't usually buy something just for one perspective, right? You buy it for multiple points. So even if you remove the AimLabs integration from that mouse, it still has all these other features in there, which are outstanding, just hardware features and functions, which give you a great quality mouse, right? So, yeah. Next up here, we've got the ROG Hone. This is going to be essentially the aligned mouse mat. This one actually, I think, is already available right now on our ASUS store too. You can pick this one up. Is it right here? Yeah, it's right now. Buy now. We still have inventory. Yep. Really, really nice, large, really nice mouse mat right here. It has a really nice optimized hybrid surface, so it works really well for kind of smoothness, but also still has control. It has a nano coating on here. So the nano coating, the benefit of the coating is going to be essentially that it helps to kind of mitigate dust, debris, and dander. So without the coating, essentially it can kind of get into the textile material. It gets a little bit more grimy, and you might have to kind of be a little bit more conscious about cleaning it. So that's a really nice element that we have there with the Hone. That you have available to you. Really nice large space, so you've got a lot of room depending on wherever your DPI level is that you play at, right? Generally, if you play at a lower DPI, you're going to probably use more of the mouse mat, and if you play at a higher DPI, you're going to probably use a little bit less, but you've got definitely a good amount of space that's on there. 3mm cushion in there, which is quite nice to keep it kind of very, very comfortable. And then also really, really nice stitching right here when it comes to the corners so that you don't have any fraying. So overall, really, really nice. I think for the build quality, the attention to detail, the nice little markers right there that are built in, which also complement, again, the AimLabs training modules that you have in there for $30. It's a great addition if you're looking. And again, we've got quite a number of other mouse pads too, where we have the sheath and we have the scabbard. If you're also looking for other larger sizes, where the sheath and the scabbard are going to be larger mouse mats. Let me go ahead and see. Did I drop in that in the chat? Let me go ahead and just see. Okay, it doesn't look like we got any quick questions on that, so we'll keep moving that along. And I do also have another update on a previously announced mounts that is now finally available. So this is going to be, for me, I'm not a symmetrical guy. I like Ergo. That's my preference. So we finally now have the Gladius III AimPoint available. You're going to start to see it get a little bit more available over the coming next month, but you can pick it up even right now. It's on Amazon. It is available. You can get it. The Gladius III is going to be it's going to be very similar to kind of like what we got there with the HARPE, but like I said, a little bit heavier. I like I said, the weight distribution a little bit more here for me personally on the Gladius III and the Ergo shape that it also has, but it has the same ROG AimPoint sensor. So again, 36,000 DPI sensor that also with that tight CPI deviation. Now you are going to get some benefits of also still having that heavier design that I'm going to talk about right here. So even higher power battery life. The HARPE is 90 hours. Here you have 119 hours, and you also still have Bluetooth, and you have 2.4 gigahertz, and this one also does support the Speed Nova wireless-based chipset. Now, another thing that this model is going to have is, as we move down right here, this one does have the push-fit socket design. So the push-fit socket design means you can easily disassemble it. I have a whole live stream on this if you guys want to check it out, and I've covered it in the PCDIY group. But if you want to change out your switches to TTC, to Kale, to Quano, to Cherry, right? There's tons of different switches in there that have different actuation levels, different sound profiles, different plating designs. The ROG microswitches in here are some of the best microswitches in the industry, very comparable to a high-quality TTC or like a KL GM8 in terms if you're looking for something. But the cool thing right there is you see this is exclusive right here. Nobody else has this. Doesn't matter. You want to go buy Razer? Guess what? It's not going to have it. You want to go buy Logitech? Guess what? It's not going to have it. You want to buy a SteelSeries? Guess what? It's not going to have it. You want to buy Pulsar? It's not going to have it. you literally can disassemble your mouse in 5 minutes, open it up, and have easy access to be able to swap the switches in there. And if you want to, like I said, swap to any other micro switches, you want to swap out to optical switches, no soldering required. Every other mouse on the market, one, it might not be designed to easy to disassemble. And then on top of that, you have to know soldering. And if you don't know soldering, you could literally burn the PCB and kill your mouse. So if you spent 90 bucks, 100 bucks, 150 bucks on your mouse, you're literally going to end with a dead mouse. And here, you don't have to worry about any of that. So you can go ahead and easily access out. So that weight for me, it's a perfect balance. This is still what I would consider a true lightweight based mouse, right? You also get included in the box the grip tapes, the 100% PTFE feet that come with this model as well. So this is a great option. I'm a big fan of it. Also, I think works really well for people with a little bit larger hands. I'm 6'2", about 220, 225 or so. So it gives you maybe an example of kind of my hands. They're pretty large. I use the Chakram. It's very, very comfortable for me, along with the Spatha. Gladius, I wish we actually had a Gladius XL, even a little bit bigger. But for size-wise, the HARPE and both the Gladius III are nice in terms of the size-wise. So this model, you can get it now. One note that I do want to make, you can only get the Gladius III AimPoint at right now in white. We don't currently have the black model available. Probably won't be bringing it until later. There is also going to be the Curious AimPoint, which should be hopefully coming in, I would hope, by maybe the middle to the end of February. And again, for the Curious, it should also only be in white. Okay. But right now, you can go ahead and pick up the Gladius III AimPoint. Okay. All right. Let me quickly just see if we got any quick questions there. Any any idea when these are at the district centers? I'm sorry, Jay, on which product? If you can confirm for me which one you're talking about, that would be great. Will the new 6 series boards allow 7 series processors, or will they still be able to use 7? Chris, I'm not 100% sure on what you mean regarding 6 series boards, 7 series. So are you talking about like Z690 to like Z790? If you're talking about Intel platforms, so Z600 series or B600 series, both support 12th gen and 13th gen series CPUs. So you can support the latest generation CPUs. You just have to make sure to update the UEFI and the MEI firmware, and you're good to go. I do have a dedicated post in the PCDIY group that talks about a little bit of the advantage on Z790. If you care a little bit about ultra high DDR5 overclocking, the margin is a little bit higher on Z790. But for most users, if you're like targeting 6,000, 62, 64, 6600 MT memory kits, you're entirely fine. You don't need to worry about that. Okay. In what specific ways does this differ from the Gladius III? So yeah, it's actually quite a bit different from the Gladius III. So the Gladius III didn't have the AimPoint sensor, so the AimPoint sensor is entirely different from the Gladius III sensor. The Gladius III sensor is still really good, but this is an entirely new sensor on there, the AimPoint sensor. You also have an entirely different wireless chipset. So battery life is different. The wireless chipset is superior, so it's actually lower latency, and it's actually more efficient and more effective. You also have the grip tape that is also going to be on here, and the weight has also been reduced. So there's actually quite a number of differences between the Gladius III and the Gladius III AimPoint. But Gladius III is still really a flagship level mouse and a lot of great things, right? You got the push fit socket design. It's still actually lightweight. It's still tri-mode. You still get like the optional skates that come in there, the paracord cable. So, great option. Just, Gladius III AimPoint is just like a refined version of it that takes it even further. Okay. All right. So yeah, if you were talking about the new boards, I think I answered your question, Chris. So hopefully I was able to clarify it for you. So if not, feel free and let me know, and I'll try to make that a little bit clearer. All right, guys, next up here, we've got on the router side, we do have an update here on an entirely new model that we've got. So let me go ahead and bring this guy up. So this is one of my favorite models that we've always had in our lineup when it comes to routers, and this is going to be the AX88. And so the RT kind of like this line model specifically has always been one of our strongest adopters, like from generation to generation to generation. So from like AC to then like Wi-Fi 6, as we moved into higher grades. So now here we've made an update to the prior RT-AX. Now, One of the things I really loved about the original one is that it had 8 LAN ports, but we didn't get as many people that appreciated having as many ports, so we made a little bit of a revision and we focused on giving it more high-speed based ports. So that's where you're going to see a change. Also, there's even a faster performing chipset to this model. So a couple of kind of nice upgrades here. So this is going to be a dual band based router, so 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. It is a 4x4 base configuration, which means that you have 4 internal transmit and receive antennas. That's going to be great for performance and for going to be range. The 2 gigahertz is going to be the actual chipset. There's actually a quad core SoC that's in here. That's very, very, very high performance. That helps to give us great performance for a wide number of devices that are connecting. And also, if you want to run anything on the router, the quad core SoC is advantageous. So just like in a normal system, if you have a faster CPU, generally you can get better gaming performance, you can get better storage performance, better USB performance. Having a faster CPU on the router actually allows it to have faster performance and faster handling. Another benefit is going to be if you run certain features on the router. Take, for instance, if you want to run on-router VPN, you'll notice a significant difference in performance from a faster SoC to a slower SoC. In our testing, going for instance, let's say like an older dual core SoC from like 600 megahertz or like 800 or like a gigahertz to something like this, a quad core 2 gigahertz SoC, you could be seeing 3 to 4x VPN of throughput performance improvements, along with also really robust support for newer protocols like WireGuard, which is now supported. You get dual 2.5G WAN ports on here, which is great. So that means it's ready for the next generation of internet service provider speed. So if you've got 1 gig, but maybe you want to upgrade to 2.5G, Comcast and AT&T and many telcos right now are actually rolling out deployment for multi-gigabit speeds. This is ready for it. And then you also have a secondary port, which is great if you want to wire it to maybe your latest ASUS laptop or desktop that has 2.5G networking. So really helps to bounce that out. Then you get your standard, of course, LAN. And like all ASUS routers, do keep in mind that these do support our AI mesh technology. So even if you want to pair 2 of them together down the road to be able to have broader coverage, you can pair that together. And that's through our ASUS AI mesh technology. And with ASUS AI mesh, the other cool thing is that you can do what's called the backhaul configuration can be done either through Ethernet or through a wireless backhaul. So you could use like one of the bands, like you use like 2.4 gigahertz to have the 2 units talk to each other and then have one single band left. Or you could actually have the backhaul happen through like 2.5, have that be really, really large and stable, and then actually have 2 bands be available, which would be really ideal in terms of your actual wireless network. A lot of really great security options. There's also all our advanced options that we have inside of our ASUS router app, including actually quality of service. So if you want to immediately adjust it to like media streaming, to like gaming, to different types of items like that, you can do that. There's really cool functions like a traffic analyzer in there. Traffic analyzer is really, really cool. It allows you to literally see all the packets in real time for every single device on your system. And you can even break that down with actually more advanced information. So if you want to know how much data is being used by like Steam versus like video on demand versus this laptop or this phone, you can see this all broken down to you in a pie chart with really clean graph information. It's really, really cool. A little bit big brother, but you can be the big brother of your network. So it's pretty cool information that you have available to you. So that is going to be the RT-AX88U Pro. It's going to be coming at $350. And again, if you're really somebody that wants to kind of step into Wi-Fi 6, great option. If you guys are looking for maybe something a little bit lower in pricing, also we've got the GT-AX6000, which is a great option, or the RT-AX86 models, which are really great options. And those are almost coming at about half the price point, but can still even give you cool features like 2.5 and Wi-Fi 6 technology. The big difference you'll start to notice will be for things like the chipset and some of the multi-band configuration support, for the transmit and receive configuration support. So instead of something maybe like a 4x4, it could be like a 2x2, or it could be a 3x3 base configuration. Okay. David says the kids don't like the traffic analyzer. Yeah, I think anybody that's using a lot of bandwidth might not like the traffic analyzer. But the cool thing I actually really like about traffic analyzer is that if you've got a lot of devices in your house and ones that are smart, but you don't know like what they're actually always doing. An example of this could be like your thermostat. It could be like cameras. It could be other devices where you want to know that they're using bandwidth, but you just kind of don't have an easy way to check that. Like, how do you check the bandwidth that's being used for your camera or your thermostat or for your smart sprinklers or for lights? Do you want to find out if maybe there's like weird, abrupt, large amounts of data that are being sent through that? A traffic analyzer can be really helpful for that. So this is where I say that it's not just about the users, but it's about understanding the entirety of your network, and it's a really, really feature-rich tool that you can utilize. This user is as nice as that beauty is. I'm all aboard for the Rapture. Yeah, definitely. The Rapture series are the flagship. If you really want the absolute best, ASUS consistently is really the #1 choice out there for high performance routing solutions. We've proved it year after year after year. Right now, even community regard, right? We are 11 years running the #1 community rated networking manufacturer. So that's not even by media, that's by users that have adopted the platform within actually an editorial write-up. So it's pretty cool. Oh, very, very cool. Depots actually used a version of this router I used up until Wi-Fi 6E came out. Yeah, so fantastic unit. And the cool thing too is if you even have older models, right, again, with that ASUS AI mesh technology, it's always cool that you can kind of end up taking those models and then you can use them as then maybe they're a secondary AP, or you can use it like another model to just be able to expand coverage if that's what you want to go, right? Let me go ahead and just see right there. All right, I think that covers that there. All right, another quick update that I just want to go ahead and make here. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this model, but I do want to just go ahead and let people know that it is available because I had some people ask me about it. But the ROG Rapture AX11000 Pro is now available. So this was a model that, again, it's a higher end model, but one of the key things is that it has the new exposed band support right here for 5.9 gigahertz. And so this benefit right here, this is going to give you essentially even further improved throughput and performance. It can be optimally used if you want to use it for like a third backhaul. Now, this model, as opposed to the AX88U, is going to be a tri-band versus a dual band based model, right? Now, one of the important reasons of why you think about, well, why would I want tri-band versus dual band? One, tri-band is going to be favorable if you have more Wi-Fi 6E type class devices or even Wi-Fi 6 devices, and you're also going to potentially run a mesh network. The reason being is that if you run mesh and you pair like two routers together or any mesh product, generally one of those bands, so let's say I have 3 bands, so I've got 3 bands right here and I got 3 bands right here, and I'm going to have them talk to each other. One of the bands is automatically going to be dropped. So I'm going to take one of those bands and it's gone. And I'm only going to have 2 bands left. And that's essentially the 2 bands that are left exposed to you as a user. And that other band that gets dropped, that's because it's essentially being used to talk to the 2 routers. And that's called a backhaul. So if you had a dual band router and you created the mesh, you only have 1 band. That's it. And then if you had a tri-band router, then you essentially still can maintain those 2 bands that are active, right? And that's going to be a benefit because you essentially have more high-speed bandwidth that's available to you. And that's also where we talk about that backhaul technology, where if you use a wired backhaul, that's the ideal option because then the 2 routers talk to each other through a wired backhaul. So maybe you have one router on one floor and then you have the other router on the other floor. But the 3 bands are still all exposed, and that gives you the highest level of throughput and the best speed. So very, very cool model. Very similar feature set that I've talked about to the AX88U, but again, just this one will also have the, like I said, the 2.5G. You also get a 10G port on this model, and you get that 5.9 gigahertz tri-band, right? So great option right there, and like I said, also available right now if you guys want to pick this one up. Let me go ahead and see if I can get you the link in here for this one, guys. So give me 1 second. It didn't. Oh yeah, put me on the global page. So let me go ahead and just shift this over here to the US page. GTAX. Cool. All right, there we go. All right, very, very cool. And let me just quickly see any quick questions right there. So RC Cosplay says, everybody, I already did the update to the UEFI of 2204, the latest one. Is that enough to drop in my 13900K? JJ mentioned an ME update as well, or does the UEFI take care of that? No, that's a great question. And actually, I covered this in the group, and I'm just going to quickly show this, but this is actually really important because a lot of people mess this up, and people that have problems still then post that they maybe have instability or issues. So this is even a little bit more common as far as the issues if you have Z690. If you have Z790, it's less of an issue, but if you have Z690, very important. So you still need to actually make sure, once you install the operating system, pretty much the first thing, just install the chipset driver and the MEI driver, but you want to make sure and actually go over here and you'll see under BIOS and firmware, right? So here I'm like on the Maximus Z690 Hero board, right? So you'll see here I have my BIOS. I like to only refer to the UEFI. I don't like to use the word BIOS. Technically we use that, but technically it's the UEFI firmware. But you'll notice if you go down here, go after BIOS, and then there's a firmware, so you would want to maybe update the firmware if you have one for like the audio on board. But then you see right here, this one right here, this one's important, the ME update tool. And then there's also a corresponding ME driver that aligns with that version. So the management engine is actually part of the CPU itself also, so it's important. So after you complete the UEFI BIOS update, you're also going to want to complete this MEI firmware update tool, right? So UEFI firmware, complete the OS install, then run this tool. This tool is a separate executable. You just download it, extract it, and you'll double click it. You run it in Windows. It'll say, hey, I've completed the firmware update. Do you want me to reboot? And then when you're done, you're good to go. Then just complete doing all your drivers. You can either manually download the drivers from the support website, or you can go ahead and use Armory Crate, which will download all the drivers for you, and you would be good to go. Okay? All right. Let me just see right here. Kevin says, my original AXE11000 is going strong. I love how the router is picking up the router game. Yeah, AXE11000 is still an absolute beast. Plus, it's Wi-Fi 6E. I mean, you picked up on it when it was, I think, a perfect time. The feature, the function, the spec, that router, it's a great choice. And that's going to last really a long time as far as being a backbone to any high-performance networking, right? All right. D Patron, if you can maybe tag in the group, or Jake, if you're still watching on the stream, if you can double check on D Patron XO's commentary there. I think he's maybe, I don't, it's not clear to me. Yeah, so I see actually you're already tagging them there. Fantastic, Jake. Thank you so much. Right there. I just want to know what the cube in the background on the top of the computer is. It's a hypercube. It's just a cool little RGB accent desk piece right here. Yeah. Oh, look at that. HBO Computers knows, right? Yeah, it's the hypercube right there. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and finish around now right here. Also, one just other quick update right here. This one I'm not going to spend any time on detailing it, but I just want to make sure you guys are available. Just because I think it might be overall one of the best options to get in terms of the higher end router set. But this is the RT-AX88U. Previously, to get tri-band, so Wi-Fi 6E tri-band was really expensive. It was actually over $500. And now we finally have this model right here, which is going to be the RT-AX7800. So for $330, you get that 2.5G fast SoC, and you get tri-band, right? So this is an awesome unit. Really, if you want kind of long-term investment and you don't want to jump into that 450, 500 plus category, this is a really, really, really good choice and very hard one to beat. So definitely check it out if you're interested in tri-band and Wi-Fi 6E. Okay. So let me drop that one in there. We don't have a Discord, but we do have our ASUS PCDIY group. So you can feel free to go ahead and join our ASUS PCDIY group and tag me or tag Jake, or we've got, over 40,000 members. Great community to be able to provide insight, right? All right, guys. So we're getting ready to wrap up some of the last new items right here. We've got the Tough Gaming 7900 XTX. So just going to go ahead and bring that up right there. I talked about the little 7900 XTX a little bit there in terms of like the AMD promo, right? But in case anybody's interested, right, these are going to be coming in where we're going to have, there are going to be four versions, right? We have the OC and non-OC, but most people tend to buy the OC version of the card. Of course, the standard version is fully overclockable. You can't overclock it. There's no difference in that regard. Just means that most people tend to usually buy the OC-based version. So I just wanted to let you guys know right here, 7900 XTX right here. This is, of course, the standard model non-OC, which you'll see is 1180, and then the OC model's $30 price difference at $1,200. If you want to go with the XT, it's $1,100. So that's the price point for these. These are essentially very similar to kind of the thermal design that we introduced for the 4080 series. So these are going to be very, very large metal-based heatsink assemblies, very large, high-quality, performant VRM designs, static pressure optimized fans, cool, quiet, and fast. These are going to be superior to the AMD kind of reference design cards that are out there. Generally, you refer to as that AMD self-design because that's their design for their cards. This is our design for our graphics cards. And again, you're going to have a cooler, quieter, and faster card. These are going to be a great choice for those of you that want to be able to build for an AMD based graphics card experience. These also still do support our static pressure optimized fans, 0 dB operating mode, which means when the card is operating on a certain wattage envelope, those fans will entirely stop. You do want to go ahead and keep in mind a couple of just like little small points right here. One, we do maintain fully molded inductors, and what fully molded inductors are going to mean is that is going to be that essentially the inductors, they're not hollow. And so that helps actually mitigate things like coil whine. You can't eliminate it entirely, but you can help to mitigate. So we do design to help to try to offset that through, phase balancing, which you can see right here. We have a very large, robust VRM type design to be able to offer very, very good phase balancing and load distribution when it comes to the power delivery. And then all of the cards are actually produced using our what's called ASUS Auto Extreme production process, which means that it's an SMT production process across the board from literally our most entry graphics cards to our highest end graphics cards. They all get produced using the same advanced processing technology. So it's not just the installation of those components, there's actually a validation to the actual components. And then from there, even the selection of the components are what are referred to as our super alloy power components. All of that comprises what we call our Auto Extreme production process. And don't forget to check out, if you guys are interested, we do have our GPU Tweak 3 utility. This utility will work on anybody's graphics card. It will work on AMD and it will work on NVIDIA-based graphics cards. But it is a fully certified application right now for a 7000 series and for 40 series based cards. Has a full impressive OSD display. There's a lot of features that even stuff like MSI Afterburner doesn't have within our application. One of my favorite things is I think we have a better voltage frequency tuning option with save points and adjustments. But I love this feature right here. Profile Connect. Profile Connect will actually give you the ability, you can assign specific profiles to specific games or applications, and then along with even specific OSDs, and then have that automatically switch, and you can save that. And I think that's an awesome level of granularity and control. So you could have something specific to Forza, have something specific to Company Heroes, something specific to The Witcher or Destiny, and kind of toggle back and forth and have that all set. And you wouldn't have to change it up. Our hardware monitor, I think, is also superior. One thing that I absolutely love right here is that you have an export and import log function. So you can save all your logs. And then instead of having to like open up 2 docs and like take out Notepad or like use a pen and paper, you can literally import the log and then you can do a compare and you can actually literally see your different values. So if you're maybe checking for temperatures or for clock speeds or overclocking or tuning, you can actually do a side-by-side comparison. It's much easier to evaluate the data. And the other really cool part too, is if you actually scroll all the way back to the bottom, it says help make us take GPU better. Instead of doing random posts in some community, maybe thinking you're talking to a developer, send it straight to us. We have a built-in feedback system right there. You can go ahead and drop in feedback and reports, and we use that to compile new versions of the software. Okay. So if you guys haven't, make sure to go ahead and check out GPU Tweak. All right. Let me just quickly see if there's any quick questions right there. So we go robots. Yes, robots. Robots are used in the SMT production. Hey, Nell, asking about laptops. I don't cover laptops in this PC DIY stream, so I couldn't tell you. I know that most of our new laptops we announced at CES, you're probably looking at late Q1 to early Q2 timeframe. But make sure to watch our social media channels. Also, we may be doing in future a more dedicated live stream for the kind of laptops, but occasionally, sometimes laptops are covered on our Pulse live stream, so you can check that out as well. But the topic kind of varies there, kind of from items to items. All right. So let me go ahead and finish that up there. So that is going to be the GPU tweak and 7900 XTX. All right, so we are almost getting there, guys. I want to give an update here. I think I gave this in the last stream. I just want to confirm if you guys weren't available, but the White Series graphics cards have started to push out in terms of their availability within the channel. So you will be seeing essentially them pop up. So just make sure to go ahead and keep that in mind if you guys are interested in both the 40 series, the 4080 and the 4090 in white. So we do have, of course, the two 4080 and the 4090 graphics cards in white. You can see right here, absolutely stunning base graphics cards. The features, functions, and the designs are exactly the same between the monochrome or essentially the black versions of these cards. So all the great build features, right? So you're going to get the milled vapor chamber, the high quality VRM design, the higher TGP rating, the more advanced RGB lighting that we have on the card, the fan Connect 2 headers, the premium all metal housing, the internal design for the bracing and reduction of torsion, the PCI power monitoring circuit, all that great stuff, the dual V BIOS design. All of that is identical. It's just that they're in white. So we have a 4080 and a 4090. We will have OC and non-OC versions, but again, most people are generally going to be focusing on the OC. So that's the price point. 2100 is going to be for the 4090 OC, and then 1600 for the 4080 OC. And you should be seeing these essentially pop up pretty much in the coming days, in the coming weeks. And we know that there will be high demand. We're consistently working in terms of overall channel availability to try to get as many as we can out there as possible. And all we can tell you is just try to take advantage of shop notifications. If you're shopping at the ASUS eStore, make sure to sign up for the custom text notifications so you can be aware of when we drop those in terms of channel availability. Okay. Yeah, definitely. They are beautiful cards, and we have a full lineup too, right? So again, if you guys are interested in the standard versions, right, we have the standard monochrome versions, and then if you of course want something that's still going to be cooler and quieter and faster than an FE card, we also then have the tough gaming versions. So we kind of have an entire price band, right, in terms of kind of offering you pretty much all the way from the tough gaming models all the way up to the ROG STRIX, and then we have the white edition models. And the white edition models, it's only a small delta. It's about $50 to $100 delta from kind of the standard to the white edition. So it's a small premium, but if you really love the white, then you can pay that little bit more and be able to get that right there. Online store, yes, it should be available on the ASUS eStore in more limited quantities. It's not going to be the primary, so the primary inventory we do try to push out to our channel partners, but there will be limited availability on the ASUS eStore. Sneff says, I water cool everything. Yeah, I mean, Sneff, it's masterclass water cool builder, but it is a stunning card. That's almost like one where it's like, just do you water cool just the CPU and leave your card exposed because it looks so good. Hey, Dead BC 77. I don't think I've seen you in a little bit, man. Happy New Year, man. Happy to have you here. Thanks so much, right? Happy to have you on the stream. All right. I think my next build is going to be in white. Do you think Strix motherboards will come in white in the future? Yeah, we already actually have Strix in white. I actually already talked about it in the stream. And we've had white Strix boards for a really long time, for more than, I think now more than 4 years already. So here's an example. See, the ROG STRIX Z690-A in white. It's beautiful looking motherboard in white. It's a perfect foundation. You can find tons of builds in the group and in the community from people that actually use the -A with white, including like our prior generation when we had like the white 30 series graphic cards. They'd pair with that, and then they also pair with like an ROG STRIX LC AIO cooler in white, and they were able to kind of go put it all together. So I have the Notify Me. So does that work? I think the Notify Me should be okay because that should be web-based, but that's like if you want to like double stack, you can have the web-based notification and do the text notification. So you may want to maybe do both if you just kind of want to try to get the best. And just because I know so many people are always trying to get these cards, that might be kind of one of the best options for you as far as just, trying to take the notification on both of them. So it's hard to kind of say whether that's going to cover you, but, that's just, what I want to make my recommendation, right? So next up, we've got the SL400. We've got the ROG Ergo gaming chair right here. You know, and here I know I talked about it CS, but now I have the confirmed pricing for you. And so if you guys, I announced this in the group, right? So $899 is going to be the price. It's actually a little bit under what we were originally planning. So I think actually at this price point, yes, it's expensive, but really the build quality and the feature set is really outstanding. You know, we've got this super breathable mesh-based design right here. Very, very, very comfortable in terms of the actual chair. You're going to have a lot of range of an adjustment right here. So the headrest is fully adjustable. You can go actually down, you can go up, you can pull it in, you can pull it back, right? The acoustic baffle helps to mitigate noise. It can kind of get into the center of the space right there, but it can also be removed. Your armrest, you can go up, you can go down, you can go back, you can go forward, you can go in full 360 degrees. Right here, these are going to be PU-based foam, really comfortable to lay your arms down in there and also be able to angle them if you want to be able to raise them up for like holding a controller or like a tablet. The backrest is going to have a 4D based backrest design. So, 4 different points that you can angle. So 90 degrees, 105 degrees, 110, and I think like 120 degrees. So great from just standard kind of sitting and typing and productivity to leaning a little bit back for maybe gaming, you know, especially if you're using something like a controller to, you know, just chilling and watching a stream or watching something, you know, in your browser or whatever it might be. Lumbar support is also fully adjustable. The base can be fully brought back and forward, right? Nice textile handles with actually clear legibility so that you know what you're actually adjusting on the unit. Caster wheels are also PU based, really, really smooth in terms of their performance, work great on carpet and also work great on hardwood based floors. So you're also going to be good in that regard. Really a lot of attention to detail that we've put in here to really, I think, hit a great balance in terms of the overall, the fit, the finish, and the comfort. It is rated for up to 330 pounds, so you still get a lot of support in terms of sitting in the chair. So you don't have to worry if you're a little bit of a heavier individual. Like I said, I myself am about 6'2", about 220 pounds, have no problem sitting in this chair comfortably. We do rate it, I think technically the max is right at about 6'1", but again, I'm 6'2", and I was still comfortable within it. I don't know if we have anybody left in the chat that might have been at CES that actually got the chance to sit in it, but really, really great feedback. A lot of people really joined it. In my post in the PCDIY group, also, we have quite a number of people that were in attendance that got the chance to sit in it, and not biased for me. You can hear it straight from them that they really were comfortable and they thought it was a great chair. Again, here you can see how much you can go ahead and raise this up or bring this down. I also really love that, like I said, 360 degrees allows you to tilt this in. So again, if you want to kind of lay your arms like this and have them angled, that's also really, really cool. So I'm a big fan of that. Here's again that little lean back. You can also see that we spent some time to make sure that you have a little bit more of an open space on that headrest. And the key part with that headrest, like I said, being 4D, is that a lot of times the headrest is just like a pillow and people throw it away and then they don't get the support. But here you can, because you can pull it back, you can pull it up, you can tilt it up, you can tilt it down, you can really kind of make the adjustment to find that sweet spot. It's quite comfortable, and we left it open enough so even if you're wearing something like our Delta headphones, you still got that space that's comfortable. And here you can see, like I said, those strips right there where you got tilt, depth, and height. That you easily kind of know what you're making an adjustment with. You don't kind of have to play this little like game of like, oh, let me adjust the knob. I don't know where I'm at, right? So right there, you will see says TBD Canada. Canada, we will have hopefully a little bit more information. It always takes a little bit more time in terms of the logistics for it to be rolled out. So I don't have a pricing point for you and timeline exactly for Canada, but we're hoping maybe by the end of Q1 timeframe. For the US, our overall availability target should be hopefully within the end of February timeframe. But again, make sure to keep it tuned. We'll have a first availability notice for people that are in the PCDIY group, and we will have a featured post announcement in there. And again, this is a full die-cast aluminum skeletal frame in there, so it really allows a premium look and feel and a lot of structural integrity and rigidity to the frame of the chair. So overall, I think it's a great addition to our lineup and a great alternative to, of course, the kind of more traditional bucket type of racing seat type design that we have with the ROG Chariot. So this is going to be a big release from us. We're very excited about it. This is that 14 centimeter just raise right there, just to be able to give you a little bit more support, a little bit more comfort right there for the armrest. So that is going to be the ROG gaming chair. SL400. Wow, a lot of comments blew up right there. Let me just go here. Send JJ the chair. Can we start a campaign to send JJ the chair? I want to get a chair. Yeah, can I replace this one that I've got right here? That would be pretty cool. I'd like it right there. Have fun, man. The Poets, thanks so much for joining us. Maybe drop that comment in there. How'd you like sitting in the chair? You tried it out right there, man. Have a fantastic Friday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your weekend, man. Always great to have you here on the chair. Yeah, there you go. DePote says, comfy chair. I tried it. Gets a thumbs up, right? So there we go. Paskowitz says 6'3", pushing the limits. We'll see. Yeah, we had a couple of people that were also, I think, maybe probably around 6'3" at CS that still sat in it. I don't think that there'd be an issue. I think probably for 6'3", you're still going to get the support in there. So it's not, I think, a backrest support variable. It would probably just be figuring out where the headrest would optimally support you. And if it didn't, probably what you would end up doing is just pushing it all the way back so that you wouldn't end up utilizing it. That's probably, I think, the difference. But of course, you know, everybody's a little bit different size and shape, and we try to find a kind of optimal balance at giving a large number of individuals accommodation within this chair. Let's see a little bit of commentary here. Everyone that sat in the chair at C had nothing but great things to say about the chair. I cannot wait to order one. Looking forward to enjoying it. Yeah, I definitely would agree. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Somebody asking, will you get the chair in the studio? We'd love to see you in it and hear your live reactions. Maybe that would be cool. A live reaction and a little demo video. I can get set up with the secondary angle. We'll see if we can do that. That would be pretty cool. We'll try to see. I'll see if I can do that. Jake is giving us a little bit of throw off right there. We'll see right there. I like those armrests. I agree. I think we did a really, really great job on it. We did spend a lot of time and effort on this chair, and so we really do hope that the community is open to it. You know, it is definitely an investment, but I think a lot of people realize that premium chairs, this price point is actually quite competitive. There's chairs that actually cost even more than this, and they don't have the degree of, I think, build material that we have in there, like the die-cast aluminum frame or the range of adjustment options that we have. So I think it's a really great balance, right? Budgets TBDCN for the chair. Yeah. So right now, it's a little bit tricky. Like I said, for Canada, there's always, like I said, some logistical and kind of some other aspects that kind of come into pricing when you kind of have to go over borders and stuff like that, and then the logistical rollout. But hopefully we can give Canadians an update in terms of pricing and availability. Like I said, hopefully when we get closer to the US release, but I'm hoping at least maybe by the end of Q1, we'll have some more information out there for you guys. Okay. Let me see. I hope ASUS has another event at the U.S. headquarters. I'd love to sit in and try out the other ASUS are currently satisfied with the ROG Chariot. Yeah, I think the ROG Chariot's still a solid chair. You know, I like the breathability that you get. I think, you know, it depends a lot on how you sit and what you do within your chair. I think, you know, for me, I like the wide range of adjustment because I like reading. I like leaning back with my controller, but especially lean back. If you do a lot of lean back, I think the Chariot is still a really nice option. And also the PU foam that we use, the cold roll foam that's in the Chariot is actually quite good compared to a lot of other chairs. So it's still a good offering, but definitely for those that really want the superior breathability and that large degree of ergonomic adjustment, then that's where the Ergo chair is going to be beneficial. And we're not getting rid of the Chariot. If anything, who knows? Maybe we'll see a future revision of the Chariot. Right, in a future revision of the Chariot in the future. Right, there we go. All right, guys. So last two updates, give them to you guys quick. Let's go and just finish them up right here. Is power supply. If you guys were in the PCDIY group, you guys saw this post announcement that I had in there. So let me go ahead and where is it? It's over here somewhere. I know I had a link for it. I know I had a link for it. Let me see. It should be in here somewhere. Okay, I guess I will just bring it up. Let me bring it up the old-fashioned way. Let me just type it in here. But we have the Thor 1600 watt power supply is now finally available. So you can go ahead and get this guy. And I think it's gone ahead and already been listed actually at Newegg. And I think we have the listing on the ASUS store. I don't know if it's already active right now on the ASUS store. Go ahead and just switch this over right here. It is coming in at a $700 price point. So some people do. One, I think they're a little bit surprised by the price, but that's actually, I think, very competitive when we're talking about a 1600 watt base solution. But there's a few things that I think that actually we offer for a benefit in terms of our design. So one is going to be some aesthetic elements. One that has a really cool distinctive design aesthetic with the RGB lighting and the OLED wattage display and this kind of surface finish housing, right? That's fine. But for some people, they might be like, well, I don't need that. And that's entirely fine, although part of the value of buying a Thor is the aesthetic. But the premium topology. So there are going to be other things in here. One, the actual inside, the thermal heat sinks are going to be generally twice as large as what you're going to find on competitors. And critically, the actual noise output of this is outstanding. There's not another PSU that's remotely close to it in its class. This is quieter than the Corsair unit, it's quieter than EVGAs, it's quieter than Seasonics based power supplies. All of them will be louder than the 1600 watt in terms of the power supply because of our advanced focus on the heatsink design that we have within this unit. In addition to that, the actual cables. The cables on a lot of these higher end power supplies, they actually have what are called inline capacitors. And the disadvantage of having cables on inline capacitors, if you've never dealt with them, is that those cables are super hard to manage. It literally, when you have to bend it, because there's a capacitor that's on the inside of the cable, you end with these really kind of weird kind of bends in the cable, and it can be quite frustrating. So we don't have any actually inline capacitors. And also the cables that are supplied with the Thor, there's a set of cables that are actually sleeved. So these are much more premium, high quality cables that aesthetically look quite nice within the power supply. So again, you won't see this within like the Corsair. You're not going to see it within the Thermaltake or the EVGA based 1600 watt solutions that are available. Also compared to those other three, none of those three come with the actual PCI Gen 5 cable that's in there. Now this is not an ATX 3.0 power supply, but it doesn't need it. All those three other models, none of them were ATX 3.0. You can still fully support the latest generation platforms and have full support for 4080, 4090 graphics card in here and future graphics cards. You're entirely fine. The cable there essentially just connects to multiple PCIe headers on the back, and then you still get the single 600 watt cable end that would go to your graphics card. Okay. Warranty is going to be the same there as well. So those are all just some of the value points. Plus, you also get the Cable Mods discount code. And I know some people think like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. I think it's actually a pretty good deal also on the cable, because the 20% coupon, if you buy custom cables, 20% off of a custom cable order can be actually a pretty significant savings. So this is going to be, again, the 1600 watt. The 1200 watt, we will probably not have it until the end of Q1. So I'm thinking maybe late February, but probably early March timeframe for the Thor 1200 watt. Now we currently already have the 1000 watt, and we also have the 1600 watt. If you bought the 1000 watt that did not have the PCI Gen 5 cable, do reach out to our service and support team. There are some criteria that I have to check with you whether you qualify for the upgrade cable, but you can potentially essentially get the upgrade cable at no cost, and we'll have that be sent out to you from our service and support team. Okay. Oh, wow. 16 comments. Man, a lot of people blew up there. Let me just see right here. See right here. I really like the all black. Looked like the Dark Hero motherboard you once did for X570. Yeah, actually, it kind of depends. It has like a black look, but it has a little bit of a chrome accent look. It almost depends a little bit on the lighting. We tried to design it to actually kind of complement a range of different kind of builds. So people that want to kind of go with light, like a white build or kind of like a silver build, it would work well. But if they went with a classic kind of monochrome black build, if you put it inside like a Hyperion or Helios, it's still going to look great. But it's got a great degree of flexibility when it comes within that. Okay. Let me see right here. Stardust says, I used my 5-year-old 20% coupon I got with my Z390-E last year. Very useful. Surprised it was still valid. Yeah. Well, I think part of that is because we've maintained a long-term relationship with Cable Mods. So if you had essentially a product that you bought and you got the coupon code, you were still actually able to take advantage of it. So yeah, I think that there's a nice benefit, like I said, especially because custom cables, like I said, they can cost you easily in the $150, $250 price point. So having, like I said, 20% savings is a pretty nice option right there. Okay. Need ASUS RGB power supply. Yeah, so we will have the I can give a small update right here on these guys. Let me just see right here. So we will actually have this model right here. This will be upcoming a little bit later, but we will have the ROG STRIX Aura power supplies. And so these actually will have RGB lighting built into them. So if you do have visibility for it, and these will also be ATX 3.0. So this will be closer to like the very beginning of the Q2 or like late Q1 timeframe. But we're going to have the Loki, which will be ATX 3.0. We'll have the Tough Gaming, which will be ATX 3.0, and we'll have the ROG STRIX Aura, which will also be ATX 3.0. So those will be coming in the not too distant future if that is a power supply that you're going to be interested in. All right, last product, guys. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if we're gonna get to the builder spotlight. I'm gonna have maybe the chance for one just because I put one in the image, and it's got to be Snuffs because that's what I use for the thumbnail. But gosh, we ran over. I was hoping to be able to get to it, but ran a little bit just tight. That's how it goes. Sometimes we still had so many little new updates. It became kind of tricky. But let me go ahead and just finish off here. Just one update, which is going to be for our mini PC. And this is going to be for the new PN64. This is going to be an awesome unit coming in at the price point. I think it's a really great choice if you guys are looking for a high quality and performance-based mini PC option. So we are going to be releasing the bare bone. It should be available shortly in the channel. The system-related model is already available, but that's the one that comes with memory and SSD and operating system. But here, you essentially get 12th Gen series processor support, has Intel UHD graphics, so supports a PCI Gen 4 M.2 based SSD. The model that we'll be bringing in, the dual bare bone, is really cool because it has dual LAN, so it has 2.5 gigabit on it as one primary. You get Wi-Fi 6E. You're also going to get DDR5 support for even better performance and lower actually power consumption. This model also really cool, supports actually USB power delivery. So you get multiple, of course, display support on this model. So you can have actually a triple display on here. But if you had one of our monitors that has like 90 or 100 watt power pass through, essentially you could power this unit from the display cable with one signal cable. So that's really cool in terms of kind of having a really cool, clean, simple setup environment. And with the 12th Gen series processors, they're quite performant. Now here, essentially, you're talking about like a laptop class, ultrabook class CPU that's in here, but it's quite robust for desktop productivity, for general application use, for having a small little compact system, for maybe people that are using it for like VMware boxes, for small coding boxes, for running specialized like little compute accelerators, maybe basic like SAN NAS type configuration. Really, really cool options for here. And you can see a lot of good options in terms of connectivity. So 10 gigabits here, 10 gigabits here, 10 gigabits here. So that's Type A, Type A, Type A, USB-C, audio jack. You then have your HDMI, and then here, this is going to be a secondary LAN. So LAN right here. And that's going to be 2.5 gig LAN, and then you also get 2.5 gig LAN. So dual 2.5 gig LAN on here. Then you have another 10 gigabit USB-C that supports a display port. So it's another display out if you want it to. And then you also have the USB power delivery. And then you also have another Type A port. And then you have your traditional DC power connection, which does come included with the default. So you don't have to buy it. It comes with the unit, even in the bare bone model. And all of our units go through actually advanced validation testing. So temperature testing, load testing, drop testing, vibration testing. This new model also has updated controls for the operating system for fan controls and in the UEFI. So again, the bare bone model that we're talking about is going to be the 1220p i3 that's in there. Great choice, like I said, for overall kind of a balance of price to performance to power efficiency. We do have a lot of other PN models there too. So if you're interested in mini PCs, we literally have models like they go like all the way down to like 150-ish bucks. So like something like the PN41, which is entirely passively cooled, right, with no active fans. Then we have like the upcoming PN42. We got the PN63. PN63 even supports more drives. You can actually have 3 drives inside of it, the PN64. And then we also have AMD-enabled models with Ryzen 4000, 5000, 5000H, and 6000H series CPUs. So tons of mini PCs across the board if you're interested in kind of building a small form factor system. Okay. Nelson is asking, will you make a white Thor power supply? Right now, we don't have any plans to make a white Thor power supply. We do already offer the ROG STRIX series in terms of the power supply for white. So let me see if I can bring it up right here. Let me see. But we don't have any plans to make a Thor, maybe in the future, but right now there's no immediate plans. But if you do want a white power supply, we have the ROG STRIX white power supplies. Those are very good quality power supplies, very high performance. They're Gold Series, fully modular, and they come with white cables. So you do get a whole set of white cables already with there. So it's a great option if you want to go with a white power supply. ROG STRIX U.2 drive one. I love no U.2, but I can tell you, stay tuned. ASUS's next generation PCI Gen 5 M.2 SSD. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really cool. Really, really, really cool. It's an impressive part. I had the opportunity to check it out. Make sure to keep it tuned. If you're part of the PCDIY group, you're watching our weekly stream, you're going to find out about this before anybody else. But I can't tell you more than that. Can't show you anything. Can't tell you about it. But I can tell you it's coming and it's going to be good. So if you want some high-speed storage, if you're hyped about direct storage, if you like running your Crystal Dick benchmark, guess what? You're going to want to check out what we got for you. Okay. All right. Make sure to keep it tuned. It's going to be coming. All right, guys. Let me go ahead and finish it up here. Actually, I don't know if I have this one right here. If Snef actually sent me over the Builder Spotlight submission form. I think I have the images right here. So I might just kind of pull them up from this side. So give me 1 second here. We are going to go into Builder Spotlight. Next week, guys, I promise I will get more Builder Spotlight in. Apologies. I know we haven't had one for a little bit. But when he shared this build, I thought it was fantastic. So I want to at least get this one in here. But I've got at least, I know I've got probably, along with the submissions from before the end of 2023 and along with new ones that people got, I've probably got at least like 40 or 50, 60 submissions that I have to kind of go through and sort and curate. But definitely I will get that in there. So no worries, guys. But let me go ahead and bring this one up here. This was a recent system that Snef did here that I believe was in the Atlas. The Atlas, I think is right. Yeah, the Beast Atlas 2. And this one is based off of our Apex. It has like a 1300K in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let me make sure I also want to go ahead and put this. This is going to be... Steph, if you're still here, if you can let me know what was the name for this system, if there was a name for it. I'm going to put Yule Beast Atlas 2 Apex because it has that. I know it's with the Apex in there. All right, so let me fix that. That's my fault. All right. And again, if you guys are not following Snef on Instagram, on Facebook, on his YouTube, you need to do it because you're losing out. Snef's one of the absolute best builders and modders in the game. Truly, for me, what I consider a masterclass builder and modder. Really brings an attention to detail and a quality and consistency to his builds. It's very rarely matched amongst the industry. So let's go ahead and okay. So Snef says no name for this one. Snef most of the time usually has a name for his systems, and sometimes there isn't. So let's just go ahead and see if you guys have a name. Why don't you guys let me know what you would name this? This absolute beauty and absolute masterclass of a system right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Right off the bat, you can see you've got an absolutely beautiful color scheme that's present right here, where you've got the white, the silver, the grays, kind of all kind of complementing each other with this beautiful color blocking effect with this green. And the choice right there of those beautiful, of course, unifans that have a little bit of that kind of infinity mirror type concept that adds a little bit of kind of inherent depth and contrast. Just looks absolutely stunning, right? And even though traditionally I'm not a vertical mount guy, the thing I always say about vertical mounts is that I prefer them when there's a conscious thought to be able to really add a sense of design symmetry. And here we can see right here, there's a beautiful dense design symmetry where he's gone ahead and buttoned it up really right up against the board and how it tears down. And you have this almost, I would call it like a dual kind of waterfall effect where you actually have one going up and then you have one actually going down, right? So it beautifully flows down into these, of course, distros. And I'm assuming, Snef, if you can let me know, are these actually distros that you custom did? A lot of the work that Snef has done as of late, they're generally custom distros that he produces. And so right here, you have the distros right here at the top and then another the distro right here at the bottom. Absolutely looks beautiful to be able to kind of pull it up and pull it down and create this contiguous kind of just waterfall effect. and then also just be able to frame them with the runs that go through right here. So as we go to another angle right here, you can just see right here. Ooh, let me see right here. Emerald Dream. That's really I really like the Emerald Dream. I'm feeling that for the name. We also got the Hulk as another name right there, but I'm feeling Emerald. Yes. So the distros and the fan grills are custom. So yeah, so again, that's really one of the things that you pay for when you go with custom work that's done by Snef, right? Is his ability to be able to go ahead and design and then fabricate and produce these things that are custom, and really allows it to have a fit and finish and polish that makes you feel like it was designed that way, right? That it actually came with the chassis and with the product in itself. So it absolutely looks stunning in terms of its overall finish. So I'm going to go with that for right now. I'm going to call this Emerald Dream, but if anybody else has, of course, feedback or thoughts on what they think it is, let us know right here. You can see the beautiful, of course, Bits Power hardware that we've got in there in terms of the water cooling blocks, but again, the distros is custom. Absolutely love this vertical effect. It's very rare that you see a vertical top-mounted distro. It looks so cool to be able to see that instead of fans. It's almost like your brain's kind of going, where's the fans? And then you see the fans right here. And I think it's a beautiful use of space within this chassis. I think these type of chassis, it's some of the hardest to work with, because when you have such a big amount of space, you really have to know how you're going to plan everything out, how you're going to balance everything out. But it's really beautifully done here in terms of really taking a great use of space, and it doesn't seem overstuffed. Oh, I love this right here. If this actually looks like it's one of my drain ports, that's really, really cool. Just again, attention to detail, beautifully done right there. As we get in right here, look at this, where again, the play in terms of kind of reflection looks absolutely fantastic, where you can see that this area where there's a little bit of RGB accent, it's cool because you're playing with the reflectivity of this area. That's one thing that some people don't realize that we do in our ROG Maximus series and our Crosshair series. We purposely design them to look in a certain way with no RGB lighting for people that don't want to run any lighting, and then with a RGB lighting pattern on. And we want them to be able to look really good under both scenarios. So we try to have an aspect of how the color play and how different things will work off against different surface materials, right? Looks really, really, really fantastic in that regard, right? Love also the choice here to go with, look at these beautiful kind of gray fittings from Bits Power right here. Just look fantastic. And then, of course, that Bits Power block right there, the Team Force memory, and then also even the DIMM.2. And for the Apex, I can tell you, he went ahead and he painted, right? So Sniff, I'm assuming that you painted this DIMM.2 heatsink to be able to match kind of the look and feel of the board right here, right? So how do you ship it without leaking? I think I got an image that he had posted from the actual cool little Pelican that's in there. So let me see if I can bring that up here in a moment. But overall, just an absolute stunning build. As we go in here, and you can see on some of the other details right here, take a look at the stunning, of course, just clean cable management and the routing work right that's in there. You can also see the beautiful just attention to detail right here within the pump. It's just like what I said with Sniff, right? You're talking about a master cast based build. Beautiful work. Always just my privilege to be able to show off what he brings to the table here. One of my absolute favorite shots right here, even though the system is turned off, it just looks great. Like even if you just had that there on display, I think everybody would absolutely love that right there. All right. Oh, okay, so he actually got lucky right there. Nope, he grabbed it from the Z590 Glacial. So yeah, our Glacial was the only one that actually shipped. It took us extra tooling time and development time to produce the DIMM.2 that actually was also white, because otherwise on the other boards we've recently put out, the DIMM.2 has actually only been black. So, but absolutely beautiful build. Just fantastic. Fit, finish, polish, execution, theme. It's all great. And I do think, yeah, I'm going to definitely go with Emerald Dream, because I think this is a PC build that dreams are made of. Let's go with that, guys, right? Overall, just a fantastic build. One of my absolute favorite images, I think, right here to kind of just round out this overall quick builder spotlight. And again, just does a great job of showing off the entire build experience. I don't have the image right here. I think Snef can let us know. I think that he does have like a Pelican case that he ships this in, which is how I was actually able to kind of, I think, get everywhere kind of safely. I thought I had an image of it right here. Oh, yeah. I got it right here. All right. Yeah, so you guys can go. And again, if you guys are not checking him out on Facebook and Instagram, you guys should. But you can see right here, goes inside that massive Pelican. I'm sure it's probably a pretty penny to ship, but of course, you know, with a system that expensive, it makes sense. Even if you had to get a custom Pelican, the custom foam inserts to be able to make sure to do that, it's great. And I'll tell you from personal experience with Snef too, when he's shipped us out demo systems for like events, there's very few builders that do his attention to detail and packing up the systems to really arrive really, really well. Like we've had systems that he even had packed in whole crates and does a really, really great job. So kudos to him. Suman says 130 pounds with the Pelican case. Wow. Yeah. So there we guys goes. Green Emerald. It's pretty cool. Now that has me almost thinking like Green Lantern kind of vibes and stuff like that. So very, very cool. But fantastic, man. Great job, man. Thank you again for sharing out that system. Very, very cool. So again, guys, that's just one system for the PCDIY Builder Spotlight. We had a lot to cover, but next week, rest assured, we will bring back and I'll at least have like at least like 5 or 6 that we'll try to get done for the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, right? All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the stream. That wraps up everything. If you guys are not, make sure to go ahead and join us in the ASUS PCDIY group. It's linked in the description. You guys can check us out. It's a fantastic community that we have there. Over 40,000 members. If you want to be able to talk about tweaking, tuning, monitoring, upgrading, overclocking, gaming, whatever it is, and if it's related to PCDIY, we'd love to have you there. And you can always feel free to tag myself, me, JJ, or you can also tag our latest member for Team ASUS, and that's going to be Jake. You can tag Jake. He's now part of our community. He's also been designated as an admin, so he should also be able to get you covered too. So with that, guys, take care. Take it easy. Have a fantastic Friday. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And enjoy your guys' weekends on Saturday and Sunday. Take care. Take it easy. We'll see you next week. See you in the PCDIY group. Last question right here. I'm going to go ahead and answer it. Will Jake be joining you doing some of these live streams? Yes, I hope in the future Jake will be joining me for some future live streams. But what I can tell you 100% for sure is you will be seeing Jake and myself coming to you in a new dedicated live stream that we're going to have just on ASUS NVIDIA related graphics cards in the not too distant future. So we'll be actually doing a lot of cool stuff on those streams, talking specifically just about graphics cards, maybe doing dives in terms of our features, functions, and designs, maybe doing hands-on overclocking, maybe talking about water cooling, maybe talking with some of our design team about what we do in terms of our graphics cards, cool, exciting updates, whether they're going to be in the firmware, all kinds of things, but related to graphics cards. So make sure to keep it tuned in the not too distant future. And if you're interested, make sure to follow us on our new social channels that we have for ASUS Graphics, ASUS Graphics NA. You can find us right now on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook for those social channels. So with that, guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day.